constantly fight for representation in their own country.
You want me to go ahead and answer it?
Yeah, you got it. We got a few more, you know what I'm saying, likes to get up to we're almost to 10K before I let everybody else up.
Okay, so I just want to set the decorum for the room. When you come on the panel, immediately go on mute and do not come off until directed to speak. Let's try to have these conversations a little more orderly. And I know I sometimes come up raging. I be trying to wake it up, wake it up. But I am a foundational Black American. And what that means is that my ancestors can be found in the United States of America. I ain't doing no mainland. Y'all ain't never done no mainland before. We ain't starting now. Between 1863 through 1865, which is our emancipation era, right? And they can be found documented on an 1870 United States Census, Alabama to be exact. Got it? My ancestors are also on the Freedmen records, right? And that's how I found out that I had a fifth great granny who descends from a town called Hamburg, South Carolina. That town has been renamed to North Augusta, and it was an all-Black town with their own trial judge, but they faced racial violence from some white tea farmers. They were ambushed. They had an all-Black militia, Leo, in this town. And the white tea farmers tried to cross during a training exercise. The Black militia said, "Nah, what y'all doing? You know, we working here, whatever." So the white tea farmers went to the court and filed complaint. And when the all-Black militia went to the court date, they were ambushed. They banged it out, though. Rich rising. I see reparations on the horizon. So I did my due diligence and I set up some clips. I do have something that I would like to read. So we will have a full live today. Happy Saturday to those who are working. Thank you for your service working on the weekend. And if you're in New York and have to take that damn transit, okay? Woo! Stay alert, stay awake, stay safe, and don't hurt nobody unless they try to hurt you. Shout out to my dad. That is one of his favorite sayings. Don't hurt nobody. And then you're supposed to say, unless they try to hurt me. Mm-hmm. And I noticed some of our millennials say they dangerous. Mm-hmm. But today I want to talk, we're going to have some Black history. I found the new app in New York trying to latch on the Palestinians to our reparations. Now, other people you may have heard this from, but these people are just coming to my attention. That lady. And it's really weird. So I have some clips of some other instances. And I think it's really weird that they want to tether on everybody or latch on, or people want to vulture our reparations, no matter where we are in the nation, right? If we're having reparations hearings, I'm pretty sure that you may have heard some people come up and advocate all Black people, or it should be Black people and marginalized groups. But they never mention what the marginalized groups do or say to us, how anti-Black they are. So we're going to have a mix of certain things that we endure from other groups. I noticed that lately, when we're talking about the tethers, every now and then we'll bring up the Latinos, but that relationship has to be examined too, because for some reason they think Cardi B should be the one answering questions, or she should be the spokesperson for telling history. She mentioned Alabama. The lady from New York mentioned Alabama. AOC mentioned Alabama. That's three people. And the lady from New York, Long Island to be exact, is a progressive. Ma'am Dummy is a progressive. Everybody he backed is a progressive. I'm not sure if AOC is considered a progressive, but she probably is. So there's a play amongst non-foundational Black Americans for Alabama in New York. For some reason, they want to mention Alabama. But when I'm on these panels and when I'm telling history, or when I'm saying we have other migration paths, besides the Carolinas. It's just the Carolinas are more prevalent, right? And and I say, but I'm not going to tell y'all now because tethers are in the room or we have company in the room. Y'all gotta know this. Our grandparents had two parents, like we have two parents, right? So if I say my grandmother is from North Carolina and my daddy's from South Carolina, where's my grandmother's father from? So my grandmother was born in Harlem and she had a fight when she was a teen, but my grandmother also had four brothers. So imagine a Black American girl, the only girl at the time, right, for years, um, living with four brothers and a daddy from Alabama. So she would, my aunt told me when I was an adult and my granny was gone that, transition, may she rest in peace, she transitioned in the mid 20s, 2000s, 2000s, whatever you want to say. Um, that when she was a teen, she whooped somebody out in Harlem and they had to fly her down to Alabama. And I was like, my granny? My granny, if you ever met her, she was so prissy. And people who hear me speak about my grandmother, I say that she would be upset if I wore a scarf on my head. My grandmother used to be a pastor's wife. I also tell everybody how she used to call my father and tell him to give me dress and to meet her, and we would go to the hairdresser shop, right? And how the hairdressing shop was, so that I'm from a time in New York when our businesses, especially in the Bronx, were dominant. And so I tell that history of my grandmother. What I'm telling y'all is that I notice talking points, I notice plays, patterns, a lot of things. People from TikTok who like me, because some they can't stand me, will tell you I be on it. I notice things that I know the questions to ask. Three progressives, well, one celebrity, Democrat, try to act like she's not Democrat, has also been disrespectful to the culture, mentioned Alabama, right? This lady who just came to my attention trying to tether on the Palestinians and all these other foreign Black people for our reparations is a progressive running, and this is the good thing I found her, y'all, running for office in New York, my Long Islanders. Please don't fall for the okie doke. That term progressive is very harmful for foundational Black Americans at this time. She mentioned Alabama and AOC talking about, we're going to pull up to Alabama. No, 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 no. That's home of the Montgomery Brawl, and the anniversary is coming up August 5th, y'all. That's an unofficial holiday for Black Americans. Y'all keep your hands off the South. And I don't even want, when the South is saying they don't like New York, I don't want non-foundational Black Americans answering them, because you're the reason why they don't like us. And so only foundational Black Americans can talk to the South about certain things. Now, if they say I don't like Puerto Ricans from New York, that's different. I can't answer for y'all. But when they say we don't like them niggas from New York, y'all just shut the hell up and let us address our family, because they're not your family. Like, I don't even know why the Caribbean made a song. It was the Caribbean rapper, it wasn't the whole Caribbean, y'all. T.I. and 50 Cent was going at it. Both of them are foundational, right? So the guy was like, and I never seen Georgia on the block. I was like, you ain't got no block. You ain't got no hood. Your hood is Kingston, maybe Portmore. I don't know, Spanish Town. But it's never New York. You don't get to answer that. I think these people be blocking me because they don't ever respond. And probably like, she crazy. But anyway, let me get back on track. So we're gonna go over those videos in a little while. But you gotta watch the Democrats and their spokespeople. And now that all of Ma'am Danny's people he was backing are progressives, I have a video from one of them, right? Because she doesn't want any borders and she wants to defend. It's like, how did Rome fall? And when that should be an immediate red flag. I don't even know how all of Ma'am Danny's, or whatever his name is, candidates won. This is not good. And nobody I know or they I don't know, they sitting out or something. This is not the time to sit it out. We have some really I'm gonna watch my words because then they may not be physically dangerous, but economic exploitation, any exploitation of our community is violence. We are economically castrated. There's no representation for Black Americans, specifically for us. But I just read that the Democrats, Latino, are trying to push a bill called Governor's Act, right? Y'all could Google it. It's something along that title. And what it is they're saying that people are being unalived and that's TikTok talk, y'all. Being harmed and taken out of this world in ICE detention centers. So they want to have the right to go in there and maintain oversight. Any loss of life is horrible. Let me be clear. What I'm trying to establish is that, okay, where's the bill for Black Americans, our anti, well, we have an anti-lynching bill, right? So our anti-police bill, like meaning anti-police brutality bill, where's our anti-hate crime bill? And where's our reparations bill specifically for us? Now, shout out to California because they got a policy where the people have to say if they are immigrants and not U.S. chattel slavery descendants, right? And we have the one that says we are, and I think they use African American. I'm trying not to use that term. That we are those who descend from U.S. chattel slavery. So shout out to them. But let's talk about now. I want to touch on the 2026 TPS extension, stays, and refugees responses, right? Because on the panel yesterday, they was telling us, well, TPS been extended for 2 weeks. Then it came out that was for like the employment, give them 2 weeks, and the employers to kind of help the employers readjust. Some people are like, well, don't they need time to leave the country and get their stuff? No. Because how many times did I tell y'all about the town hall call Yvette Clarke, Hakeem Jeffries, and the clergy from the Haitians had in Brooklyn? They've already had their preparation period, right? But luckily for them, they got the extension until recently, right? In that town hall call, they were going on and telling them how to give power of attorney of their banks, their affairs. If they had children who were American citizens, how to give them custody to the family, all this other stuff, what would happen. I mean, they were setting them up. Not setting them up like to line them up or whatever, but they were giving them encouragement. They were telling them, if we got to do a Harriet Tubman again, the great ancestor, and I'm sitting there like, you're speaking French, you're speaking Creole, and they Haitian. How's Harriet Tubman, their ancestor? What? Oh, I'm a proud Haitian, born and raised, but we got to do another. Ma'am, you're supposed to be using Dessalines and Toussaint L'Ouverture. Why are you mentioning Harriet Tubman? And speaking of which, be mindful of the Haitians that's coming up now. It was only one, y'all. But where there's one, there's going to be more. Saying that our men were kind of weak because they let Harriet Tubman lead the charge. And they only said that after we was telling them to go back to Haiti and help the boys and not the boys and girls, the women and the little girls being, as aid as a war tactic. The mess these people pose. So anyway, the Supreme Court ruling on June 25th, 2026, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in Mullen versus Doe, affirming the federal government's authority to terminate temporary protected status. This decision effectively cleared the path to end long-standing protections for multiple countries, including Haiti and Syria, and that's from Ford Harrison. Current temporary stays. Lower federal courts briefly stayed the immediate terminations while transitioning to align with the Supreme Court's ruling. As of July 10th, 2026, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services in parentheses, USCIS issued short-term incremental extensions. Work authorization documents for Syrians are temporarily extended through July 17, 2026, while Haitians receive a slightly longer temporary extension through July 24th, 2026. And that's from Erickson Immigration Group. So, yeah, the Haitians are getting special treatment, but guess who I don't hear complaining about things ending for them? The Syrians. Rumor has it that the Syrians want to go home and fix their country. So they understand definitions such as temporary. Friction between immigrants and Black Americans. Frustrations expressed by some in the Haitian community toward Black Americans stem from a misplaced expectation of Pan-African solidarity. When Black American advocates prioritize their distinct domestic lineage and legal claims to reparative justice, immigrant groups seeking systemic advocacy sometimes misinterpret this specific focus as a lack of support for their immigration struggles. The Syrian perspective. Unlike the public friction seen in some immigrant spaces, Syrian TPS holders have generally directed their focus toward legal channels and immigration advocacy networks rather than domestic ethnic dynamics. Public statements from Syrian advocacy groups center purely on the humanitarian conditions of the ongoing civil war and the immediate need for workplace stability amid the rapid court developments. Dilution of business resources and systemic harm. So this is me asking. I use Gemini, y'all. That's the AI overview that I use, Gemini. I pay a little extra a month. I like the way they do their images and stuff. And I always tell them, don't call us African Americans, right? And to cite credible sources. So if I read a source name, that's because I told them to give me the credible one, not Wikipedia. I also asked them to explain why immigrants who are Caribbean, African, Haitian, Latino, right, get grants, fundings, and things specifically for them. Everybody gets them tangible specifically for them. But with the Asian blackout now, some of them are identifying as Black businesses, which is a dilution and economic exploitation and harm to foundational Black Americans. So I just want to reintroduce this because I want to make sure that we don't lose the plot. It's like we go strong, and then sometimes, the lives about it may slow down. We're not speaking group economics and stuff, but we have to keep reminding ourselves that economic exploitation is actually violent, right? I'm going to liken it to violence because they don't care as long as they get their pockets lined up. And they ain't pouring anything back into our community. They practice a good, strong game of group economics, and we're left what? Holding the bag. We're holding the bag from their crime, from their single motherhood rates. And somebody was bringing up 40,000, I think they said, Black American women are having abortion. Here's my thing. You're going to have to give me some disaggregated stats for the simple fact, and even though there's not a lot of immigrants, we outnumber them, but still know that those immigrants are in our single motherhood rates. So if they're in our single motherhood rates, wouldn't they be in the rates for the abortions as well? Like, y'all gonna stop putting their dirt on foundational Black Americans. When you speak about stuff like that, we're gonna need you to know that your people are in there too. And if you still want to keep going on with that point, you gotta really give us the disaggregated stats, or I don't want to hear that talking point. So anyway, let me go on, and I don't want to monologue and get off track. So dilution of business resources and systemic harm, identity conflation. When African, Caribbean, Haitian, and Latino immigrants identify their businesses simply as Black or Black American, they occupy a district legal and historic category established to rectify the specific legacy of American slavery and Jim Crow segregation. This is the first time I'm reading it, so me and you are hearing this information together. I just pulled up the information after I asked the question, then I aligned my videos with how I wanted to play them, then I hit the live button. So we're hearing this together for the first time. Let me show you comments on stage in case y'all are commenting. I can see. All right. Dilution of set-asides. Minority Business Enterprise, also known as MBE. Set-asides and government procurement goals are finished. When immigrant-owned businesses who do not share the foundational lineage of domestic oppression qualify under broad, remember I said watch out for that term, broad or broader, when they qualify under broad Black metrics, they dilute the pool of available capital, shrinking the share actually awarded to Black American business owners, and that's from the City Journal. The benefit gap. Immigrants have access to specific targeted integration benefits, refugee assistance grants, and small business programs designed specifically for foreign-born entrepreneurs. By also accessing programs designated for domestic minorities, I don't agree with that word for foundational Black Americans, but that's what they said. I'm going to read it again. By also accessing programs designated for domestic minorities, they effectively utilize dual funding streams that are unavailable to foundational Black Americans. Broad policy failures. Broad legislative platforms often treat Black as a monolith. This lack of specificity allows newly arrived immigrant communities to meet diversity quotas for corporations and government contracts, enabling institutions to claim progress while continuing to shut out the foundational Black American community. And that's all for that. I'm going to go to the clips. Good morning, good morning, good morning for everybody entering the room. Thank you for spending your Saturday morning with us. Well, with me, right? So we're going to touch on a little bit of history, fair use.
The myth is that Lincoln freed the slaves, but Lincoln says in 1860 and 1861, it is a lie and a slander that we have any intention to abolish slavery in the slave colonies of the South, in the slave states of the South. This is just a lie, he says. So why does it happen? Well, it happens because, as W.E.B. Du Bois puts it in his great book, Black Reconstruction from 1935, the slaves took matters into their own hands. 500,000 of them fled from the South, withdrew their labor from the Confederacy, found their way to Union lines, and Lincoln's generals are going, what do we do with these people? What's our policy? And initially the policy was return them to their masters. But they refused to go back. They came in such numbers that this wasn't viable. And a few of the more radical Republican generals said, I'm not returning them. They were defying Lincoln, but they were defying Lincoln because enslaved people were forcing the issue. And ultimately, 200,000 of these self-emancipated Black men find their way into the Union Army and Navy. Women serve as cooks and as spies. We often forget that the great Harriet Tubman, who had led a series of raids to free family members and then to free non-kin fugitives, was the most accomplished spy for the Union Army. Lincoln eventually provided a pass which said, Harriet Tubman can go wherever she wants, because the point is, she could provide intelligence to the Union Army that no one else could provide. So this was a movement of self-emancipation. Enslaved people forced emancipation on the Union, on President Lincoln, through their own militancy, their resistance, and their mass flight from the South.
And I do believe that I talked with y'all about this already from that clip. So remember when the Haitian lady, a young girl, young lady, said that Haitians are the real Black Americans or Black Americans too, because of the Bureau of Refugee Abandoned Lands and Freedmen, something, I believe that's the name of it, right? That's a lie. Right there where he said, did he say 500,000? Or millions of our enslaved ancestors, when they started saying they're not working no more, they're leaving, like, and they started going up to the Union lines for the Union to effectively protect them so that they didn't have to get sent back to the South, back into slavery. They were labeled as contraband. They were placed in contraband camps and therefore labeled as refugees. That was a way to protect our ancestors. The conditions were less than stellar, but they were not enslaved anymore. They made it to the Union. So that word refugee, that's the second time I saw our ancestors listed as refugees, right? Even though it happened before Katrina. When Katrina happened, that was the first time I ever witnessed us being called refugees. And so that was right there, that clip and the history that I'm able to add to it. And y'all please look it up for yourselves and spread the word, because Haitians and stuff, they read our history and don't understand all the context of it. So we did talk about that clip before, but this is very good to talk about again. Just for a reminder, because sometimes those videos start recirculating, and the young man who was Haitian, I don't know if he was in Boston, New York, or Florida, said, why would our men allow Harriet Tubman to lead them? But you see, the historian there just said Harriet was one of the best spies, right? Because our women served as cooks. Cooks, right? Those who worked in the house were able to overhear things as the people, enslavers, were talking, as they were having their business meeting. Cooks were able to do that. Those who set the tables were able to do that. So yeah, let me see what the next clip is. Yeah, Little Big Mama Jones says, we freed ourselves. Some white folks still mad about it. Oh yeah, and they got wind that New York is having reparations hearings, and they're very upset about that as well. This is Dave the business bully. Shout out to Dave the business bully. Fair use.
And every time we created something big, it was destroyed, burned down.
Like where? Wilmington, North Carolina, Eatonville, Rosewood, Tulsa, Philadelphia, Chester, Pennsylvania, Wilmington, North Carolina,
Black Wall
Beaufort,
Street
South Carolina.
in Jersey.
Yeah. Anytime we had any infrastructure, two things happened. You know what Central Park is, right?
It's a park.
No, it's not. Central Park was actually a place called Seneca Village. It was when freed Black people decided to converge in one area, and they decided to redistrict that area, even though they owned the land and the houses that they built free and clear, and they destroyed those people, displaced those people, and built a park around it. There's a place called Lake Lanier. It used to be a thriving Black town. They decided to kill the Black folks, get rid of the ones they couldn't kill, and then people right now are boating on it every weekend. That's what happened to us. That's what got destroyed.
If not mistaken, that man is Frank Zanu. And he's a motherfucker, ain't he? If you look at the picture that's, in my background there, when I read it, I want to tell that to the Pan-Africans and the flat blackers. Excuse it. That saying sound crazy, but for those who believe in flat blackness, flat blackers, you think you're being tolerant, inclusive, and open-minded, you're actually being conquered. When I heard Dave talking, right, and he said that our ancestors from Seneca Village was displaced, they actually destroyed those people. Take New York, Brooklyn. When they dumped them in there, and we're going to have a clip of Yvette Clarke a little bit later, where she's calling for more immigrants into Brooklyn, they're displacing us to the point that a representative in the United States of America could say that Brooklyn is the 15th parish of Jamaica. That is horrible. That is economic castration. That is displacement. That is conquering us. That is colonization. And it seems that we're the only one that they do this to. Have y'all heard about white folks complaining about the immigrants in their areas? Let me tell you, Bensonhurst. Yusef Hawkins was tragically killed there by a white mob. That means that Black Americans could not walk through Bensonhurst, right? Without problem. I think he was going to look at a car, but this white girl was white teen at the time, having a party. One of the white boys said they didn't want to see blacks there, right? That's what he said. So I guess when Yusef and his friends came through, argument ensued, but he was going to look at a car. And he was unalive. Now, guess who lives there outside of the white folks? Because it's not Black Americans. Guess who's the second largest? It's safe to call them a minority. I don't know if they're considered people of color. The Asians live in Bensonhurst. But guess what? If I went to Facebook, what I find? I still find melanated people complaining about the racism that they have faced in Bensonhurst. Current times. Like working in the area, going to get some lunch, and they're discriminated against. So yes, we think we are being tolerant, and that could go for the people still in them nail shops. You think you're being tolerant. You don't want to do to somebody else what they would do to you. You think you're being inclusive and open-minded, but you're being conquered. This is my opinion. Y'all might have your own. But when you look at it, yeah, they're just melanated. And we're the ones displaced. So I also have another clip, but let me read your comments. Lou says, absolutely. Brenda says, good morning. Good morning, Brenda. And so let me get back to the clips. Fair use. I think y'all will enjoy this clip, because no matter the time period, the great Honorable Malcolm X words still applies to this day. Watch this. Fair use.
You're right there. I would not limit our employment demands to Negroes. I would include Puerto Ricans and other minorities throughout our country, which have been similarly discriminated against, though not for so long a period of time as Negroes.
Puerto Ricans weren't enslaved. Yeah, this is a problem that stems from slavery. And this compensation, yes, so this compensation is coming to people who were enslaved by the white man for 400 years. The Puerto Ricans don't even fit into this picture.
Well, they do fit into it.
No, the problem is the Negro problem. They're not lynching Puerto Ricans.
If a dark-skinned Puerto Rican went down to Mississippi, he probably would be lynched too.
Spanish, he wouldn't be lynched.
No, they don't.
It's the Negro here, and as long as he speaks Spanish or some other language, or if he ties his head up with a turban or something, he can go anywhere in Mississippi or in your home that he desires.
You're not aware of the fact, are you, that African students have been arrested in our demonstrations in the South?
When they
speak French.
When they have been mistaken for the so-called Negro in America, they've been arrested.
What I'm saying is that many Puerto Ricans are mistaken for Negroes. I do not think discrimination stems.
Mistaken and targeted are two different things, right? We are targeted. They only will have an encounter if they're mistaken. For us, the targets, they're not getting compensation with us. This is America. You could sue for anything. Don't mean you're going to win. But what you should not and could not or should not be allowed to do is think you're going to ride our claim because you willingly migrated here to a place where we are targeted. You're never the target. You willingly migrated here despite everything that was going on here and still continuing to go on here. I got to tell you, and if you go to Brother Melrose Radio's page, he has a prime example of it. You could get a visual of what I'm about to say. There are ways, even if you think we all look alike. In New York, everybody and their mama in their car, if they from another country, got a little what's that? The air fresheners, the wind rear view mirror wind air fresheners, little flags, little bumper stickers of their flags. There are little decors that you can put around your car to show that you are a proud Jamaican, you are a proud Haitian, you are a proud Puerto Rican, you are a proud Dominican, you are a proud Panamanian, whatever it is, they got a air freshener sticker for it. Little Big Mama Jones says they have been in our way for decades. Exactly. Lou says absolutely we are being conquered. Lou also says this is our land. We must attach our name to our land and claim our land and wealth and clear these people out spiritually and physically. I was trying to upload. There's a video of a young Haitian American. That's how she identified. She was talking to her people about them and not us. And she was saying how spiritual it is what's happening in Haiti. She also stated when you look at what's happening in Haiti today, for them to be so spiritual and not operate in spirituality, meaning not look at Haiti and see the demon possession that's happening, but to operate off the physical, she had to call them out on it. And she was talking in French and stuff. She said that's what you call I don't want to get it wrong, but she had a name for the way they're trying to avoid certain things. She spoke some parts in her language, Creole. And it was really refreshing to see. I did share it. I tried to upload it but I'm gonna have to shorten it just a little bit because it's like 10 minutes long. I'm not gonna play the whole 10 minutes, but the next live I do, which might be later on tonight because Blue has a topic she wants to talk about. Blue is my moderator. But I think that lady's message needs to be spread because we need more of her speaking out to her people. And it was very well said. Very well said. And Lou says, this is a government program using immigrants to destroy us economically. We will win. We have been through a lot. Yes. We woke up in time. It don't feel like it because I be over here drained and exhausted from everything I learned. But I think, I know, now I think, delineation is doing what is meant to do, and we are making great strides, even though we're basically playing catch up. So here's something else. Remember, I just showed about how James Farmer felt that Africans and Puerto Ricans and should be a part of our job opportunities and our reparations and stuff, and Malcolm X was against it. Check this out. Fair use.
African Americans in a very interesting way, which is actually both the universities and the corporate employers are literally, this is true, they literally import Africans so that they don't have to hire African Americans because they still count as black.
Now that's somebody, I guess, in corporate, but we felt this way, knew this all the time, right? Well, and some are just figuring it out. I gotta tell you though, for as smart as I am, and as much as I think I know, I did not, and as much as they told me in New York, they're not black. They are Dominican, they are Puerto Rican, they are Jamaican, they are Haitian, they are Trinidadian, they are Nigerian, they are Ghanaian, but they were never black. What did I think they were marking on this paper? Like, I really was shocked and amazed that they're like, well, what else was I supposed to mark? It says black/African American. And he's telling us, he's confirming what it is that we figured out, right? It was for the job opportunities because they still, and some of these people are literally, their paperwork, their immigration or whatever says your race or your status when you migrate into this country that's designated by the people in charge, literally will say white, and they still marking black on paperwork. Crazy. Um, I have some Africans debating on if they're African American or Sudanese American. Check this out. Fair use.
We're not African Americans. We're Sudanese Americans.
Yes.
We are African Americans because Sudan is in Africa, so we're African Americans.
I know that.
That's a whole separate question. Because Dr. Umar actually
we are African
created his own
by
definition.
the term, and that's why some Black Americans say they don't want to be called African Americans because they don't feel like they have any ties to Africa.
I think reparations should be different for African Americans compared to us because we just got here.
No, we don't.
They
need
deserve
reparations, but
most of the reparations. I'm gonna tell you this right now.
We shouldn't even be in the conversation of reparations because we're not descendants of slavery. Reparations from the how we were colonized in Africa. Yeah, we can get reparations from France and Britain and them, but we don't need to get reparations here at all.
Yeah, we'll never get it.
Can I ask this question? What are the nuances and or parallels to the South Sudanese or African with the Black American experience?
When I was growing up, most of my friends were African, and when I would say like stuff about Black people, they're like, oh no, I'm not Black, I'm African. And our parents would say that too. I would hear their parents say the word akata like towards Black people. So I just don't think that our generation feels like that. I think it's the older generation that really feels like the separation more, just because they were immigrants.
Honestly, I felt more othered and more like pushed aside by Black American women than anyone else. Not saying, not to perpetuate that trope of angry Black woman or mean Black woman, but when I met Sarah in high school, she was my first best friend. All the way up until high school, I had never had a close friend that was Black. Sarah was the first one, and she's African, so I've never had the experience where I was bullied by African people or felt other. Like, this is my first time ever hearing that term that's derogatory towards Black people.
Oh, the Akata term?
Yeah, this is my first time ever hearing that.
I've never heard that either.
Yeah, I've never used
let's be honest, that's a West African term, and it's not to separate East Africans versus West Africans, but more tension when it comes to these specific issues when it comes to West Africans and African Americans, because there is historical context.
Yeah, they're in closer proximity.
Exactly.
Yeah,
for sure. Especially when you talk about slavery.
I got to tell you, sometimes I honestly believe that they don't really get it like they say they get it. I believe it's a case of good cop, bad cop for the cameras. Nah, that's just what I believe or feel, but that's always temporary. I would like to see what they say if a foundational Black American sat there with them and answered some things, right? If they got defensive, that's a red flag. You know, cutting the Black American off, that's a red flag. So I think when they are having conversations about Black Americans, it's best to have a Black American who understands why we're delineating and how Pan-Africanism has harmed us, to be sitting right there with them. Otherwise, y'all are just having the conversations based off of what you think and not what you really know or what you read, but we can add the nuances. So I wish that when they do these podcasts, they have the right person sitting there, because sometimes some of us go up there and oh my God, like some of the podcasters, you think they're going to drive the point home, and guess what they do? Drop the ball so the answer falls flat. And I'll be punching the air like, oh my God, no. Like, you should really see me in here, right? But now some who get it, I like the girl's answer. We could get it for colonization from the French, but we don't get reparations from here. Now that was refreshing to hear, but I don't know, y'all. You know, I think it's best to be critical of everybody, just because I'm gonna tell you something. Just when I think that another ethnic group has got it, that they understand, they come back and show me why they never had it in the beginning. So it's like I could always hear my neighbors outside talking, y'all. So they was talking about a Baddies episode or a Love and Hip Hop episode with the non-Black American was saying the N-word. So the one who I thought got it was like, honestly, it depends on who you speak to. Some, some people don't want to hear it. Some don't mind. And I'm like, okay, she kind of get it. She understand not all Black Americans want to hear other people saying the N-word. Why? Like 2 days later, I heard her saying the N-word, y'all. Then I heard her saying she was Black and she is Puerto Rican, was born in New York, rep all her sides. So she Black too. And the man, and I tell everybody, Puerto Ricans and Black Americans in New York are not as unified as everybody think. Because the minute we get to arguing, we're going to tell them they ain't Black. These are not things that people will see on the outside. So I don't know what happened, if they made up or not. But I know I got up the next day, because at first I was letting them argue. I didn't want nobody to feel like I'm attacking them. And I was like, and Puerto Ricans ain't Black. I gotta tell you, I did do that. People could step in and out of Blackness all they want, but I can't step in and out of Blackness. I'm Black. This is 24 hours and 7 days a week for us. But conveniently, during one argument, you're Black too. It don't make sense to me. But let me see your comments before I play the next clip. Little Big Mama Jones, they talk about us, but never to us. It's giving obsessed. Exactly. And that's what's happening on is it 154 podcast with Godfrey and his Nigerian friends and whoever else he have on there that's not foundational Black American? Mm-hmm. Lou says we have to get out of the Black category and attach our name to our land, America. We really must use no. I ain't with that. Because let me tell you something. You're going to have the Native Americans. You're going to have the Mexicans. As long as you have foundational Black American. And at the end of the day, I'm not conforming to the immigrants. Okay? Now, if that's what y'all want to do, this is America. You have a right to rally at the OMB. Like, yeah. So you have the right to rally at the OMB. Let me tell you, the first time the OMB was brought to my attention, right? When I was reading the public comments, because the call to action was to go there and choose how you want to identify, like put the reason and the description down there. There were people who said something similar to yours, like get rid of race, get rid of Black. And those people didn't bother me. They had a right to go there and just get what they want. But there's some of us who just not getting rid of the word or the ethnonym or the nomenclature. So if you go to like Virginia and I believe Maryland, even in the 1600s, they had the racial caste of Black. New York in the 1640s, we had land of the Blacks, even though our ancestors were Negro, mulattoes, stuff like that. And then after a while, it turned into like the racial category. But since the 1600s, we've been identified as Black. We cannot panic because now they are marking our boxes and stuff. However, I get the frustration and the need to get it airtight. Nothing will be airtight for us, especially not indigenous, when Mexicans are running around talking about they are indigenous and they own the land too. If you got your land deeds and stuff like that, your wills, what else do they have? I don't know, but I ain't arguing about the nomenclature, right? But what I will tell you is I don't want to be called African American. These people migrated here willingly. They don't get to decide how they're going to identify because they already showed us who they are. They already said they're not black. They got all these caucuses that decided they're not black. Caribbean, Haitian, they got the Hispanics have one. The Africans have a caucus. The Somalis have a caucus, and the Nigerians are fighting for a caucus. That CBC was never really fully for us. Why? Because it was a Caribbean, Shirley Chisholm, instrumental in getting the CBC. So they have and there's a Caribbean Count Bill out there, which we could go over again. The Caribbean Count Bill will allow the Caribbean to check that they're Caribbean. So that way they can see where they're concentrated at, get the accurate population count so that they could get funding and for their schools and the neighborhoods that they have helped to gentrify us out of. For us to change how we identify when they still identifying as they are, it's kind of ludicrous to me. Why do we have to change when they're already telling everybody who they are? We just have to make the government recognize it, right? We still have the U.S. freedmen's as a status. Or we could just stay with Black American, but removing Black is horrible. That's a bad idea, in my opinion. But you have the right to go ahead to the OMB and say you don't want to be identified as Black. But you got to rethink indigenous too. Because you got the Mexicans, you got the Siberian natives, you got the $5 thinking they indigenous to America. Meanwhile, they got a whole bunch of European admixture. So, good morning, Miss Vita. Salute, salute, salute. But if you remove Black, that will allow the Caribbean. And the Caribbean don't deserve shit with us. I don't care how many Caribbeans I'm cool with. They get things specifically for them. That is a total erasure. That's a total erasure to remove it. Because we have the Black Panther Party, the Black Liberation Party, Black and I'm Proud, Black is Beautiful, Black Excellence. Like, it'll be kind of foolish right now. And Miss Vita says, don't trust anything immigrants say, they lie. So I do have more clips. Oh yeah, Godfrey is definitely canceled. I didn't really like Godfrey anyway, but everybody thought he was funny. I didn't really like Michael Blackson either. Immigrants will always show you why they don't really get it after some period in time. So we have Dr. William Sandy Darity. He just recently came to the New York State reparations. I believe he already went to California. And he's an economist, and his wife is Dr. Milan, right? And what they do is they explain lineage-based reparations and why it's important. And so I think it's very fitting, especially since the Africans over there was talking about if they should get reparations. And it seemed like they still want, except for one, want reparations, just not as much as us, or not for the same reason, but still with us. We do know New York done put a whole Ghanaian on the executive director's board at our commission, as the executive director of our reparations commission. A Ghanaian, a descendant of slave traders, right? And Ghana has admitted their role in transatlantic slave trade. Now, a lot of people are saying they don't believe in it and stuff, but if you're like in a port state, New York's a port state, Virginia, don't get me the line, Maryland. So there were Africans brought in, just not as much as they say there was. We actually received the least amount of Africans, and the Caribbean are closer to being African than a Black American ever would or could be. Conveniently, they leave out the indigenous who was here, which is another form of erasure. So that's just horrible. But let's listen to, and for everybody who wants to identify as indigenous and wondering about reparations and stuff like that, some people told me don't even, speak about it because the claim is for slavery. But in certain states, and you could look up who they allow to speak, what they allow to be spoken on during public hearings, indigenous are showing up and talking about what they feel reparations should be and who they feel reparations should include. And I don't mean the Latino indigenous people. I mean those who identify as Black American. Just reminding everybody that when the Africans were brought here, there were already people here, so their family spans longer than the period that we usually talk about. So I just want to say that because Lou is in the chat. So I'm not a slave trade denier, nor do I deny that there were indigenous here in this land. I don't believe that America was the only place without indigenous people. I don't believe that at all. But let me keep it to me. My lineage was reclassified. And I personally was reclassified at the age of 13 by Jesse Jackson and his foolishness. Now that we could get rid of, guys. We could get rid of African American. But I don't want to make this about our nomenclature. So here's Dr. William A. Sandy Darity. Let me read your comments first. What is the answer? Godfrey, and that's from Miss Lou. Little Big Mama Jones says Godfrey became known for impersonation. It's a form of mockery, and I never felt that was funny. Coming from him, right? But if they're foundational Black American, would you, or Black American, would you still find impersonations not funny? Or I got to tell you, because Afrobeat does, but he's not imitating us. When Afrobeat does his imitations of white people and how they act and stuff with other groups, I'd be cracking up. I think he should do a comedy special. Ms. Vita says, Sudanese may not know Akata, but they too have derogatory terms. For FBA's Abid. Yeah, everybody. There was this man, he said he was from Brooklyn. And the question was, should Africans, Latinos, and Caribbeans say the N-word? No, why do they use the N-word and speak in Ebonics since they're not Black? And the man was like, listen, nobody should say the N-word unless they're of the culture. I'm from Brooklyn, I'm Puerto Rican. And I was in the comments because Shavu fell asleep, but I didn't even request up because I knew Shavu was asleep, because if he was up, he would have gave pushback to that. I was like, that's not your word. Your word was the STIC word. You're not a part of the culture. You just participate in it. And you don't get to tell us that he took we made it into a term of endearment. You didn't have no part in the making it an endearment term. You shouldn't say the word. And then Love and Life was like, I don't have the energy for this. I was just commenting. Drop everybody on the panel and you drop and everybody scroll out the room so the live could go down. But it is exhausting. Because when I started on this app, I used to mod for a lady on, not this app, but TikTok, a lady from California. Then I found my way to Shavu's room. And I couldn't believe New Yorkers was acting crazy. I couldn't believe the crash outs. A 50-50 creation of hip hop. Are you crazy? And so that's how I started finding my voice and stuff on Shavu's panel and giving pushback up to the narrative of how unified they try to make it seem. And, but it is exhausting. I don't mind for Shavu no more. Going in his room, I just be triggered. Sometimes I could sit there. But at this point in the game, I got to say this. Anybody new to TikTok with that narrative is just a straggler. They were debunked by New Yorkers who tell the truth, foundational, of course, and some Latinos did come up and tell the truth. They were debunked by Tariq Nasheed's microphone check. They were debunked by the pioneers from New York who are now speaking out, or now being paid attention to because they've always told the truth. So yeah, these people, when they want something, they're Black and they're part of the culture, but any other time they so damn anti-Black. Don't ever trust Cardi B. I think she's the female Fat Joe. But let's go to Joe Button and oh no, Dr. William Sandier Davity. Fair use.
An important role, or while this proposed legislation plays an important role in improving economic conditions for all Americans, and I think that that's exciting to have happen, it doesn't do very much to address racial wealth disparities in the United States, particularly disparities that are associated with gaps in wealth. And I think for us to do that, we need a very different type of initiative, something akin to a plan for reparations for Black Americans who have ancestors who were enslaved in the United States. And I would be very excited if the president would actually establish a commission, a presidential commission, that would take up the task of designing an appropriate reparations program for Black Americans.
Yeah. A lot of your research, I know, Dr. Darity, has focused on inequality by race, ethnicity, and class. So you're saying when you look at both the American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan, you feel that neither one of those proposals goes far enough in promoting equity in the economy. Is that right?
Oh, I think it improves equity in terms of the overall American population, but it does not improve equity in terms of addressing the disparities that exist between Black and white Americans. In particular, the racial wealth gap, which now amounts to approximately $840,000 in net worth between the average Black household and the average white household. Another way to think about this is Black Americans who have ancestors who were enslaved in the United States amount to about 12% of the nation's population, but only possess less than 2% of the nation's wealth. And I don't think that any of the proposals in this existing package, nor proposals that aim at providing general support for all Americans, will do much to try to close that immense gulf in wealth across racial lines.
All right, Dr. William Darity Forrest, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Now, she did not seem like she was enthused by that interview at all. Or maybe she was just so, sometimes, they have these thoughts, but they don't want to be offensive. So I don't know. But I thank Dr. William A. Sandy Darity for coming to the reparations hearing and speaking about lineage-based. And I got to download the video of the Puerto Ricans who were upset that we are going after reparations or demanding reparations. This white woman looked a little drugged out. So I was just like, I ain't paying attention to her, Little Big Mama Jones says, Afro-Elite mockery skills are top tier. I'll give him that. Yup. And she also says Johnny Cochran had an excellent plan. Then he was conveniently deleted. I just seen that video. I'm going to download it and show it on another live. Was not aware YouTube suppressed comments. What happened, Miss Vita? They do have like keywords. That may be trigger something, but also content creators can put like words that they don't want in their chat. And so your comment may or may not show if they have like, word, they block words. They do that on YouTube, not YouTube, TikTok too. You could do that on TikTok too. So if you don't want to see Akata in your chat, let's say that, and they ask you about what words you don't want in the chat, you just put Akata. So there are some words that do get blocked, which could block your whole comment though. So I'm not aware. Oh, there are 2 petitions for delineation and indigenous classification on Change website. Yeah. But what kind of delineation? Foundational Black Americans, because, But we're going to get into Joe Button. It's kind of long, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. Yes. Okay, yeah. Find the delineation bills for Foundational Black American. Read them carefully because you want the right verbiage. And let me be clear, anybody can write that they're Foundational Black American, but the Verbiage is what counts. If they want to remove black, then they're not foundational Black American, obviously. So everything you have to read carefully, make sure the verbiage is right, make sure it doesn't say and marginalized groups and stuff like that. You know, sometimes people are slick, but this is America. You could stub your toe on a light pole and sue. So I don't know why people bother us about certain things. But yeah, so delineation though does come with disaggregation. So read everything carefully. Make sure that it's asking for others to stay away from us and our history. And please know if you have other ethnic groups in your lineage, or you chose to marry somebody from another ethnic group and everything has worked out for y'all, and even if it hasn't worked out for y'all, but you don't want to throw that person under the bus, you're not throwing them under the bus, but you're throwing us under the bus if you want to tether on those other folks. When they have CARICOM, they have in Cobra, who is supposed, Dr. Ron Daniels is not mistaken, who's a very, very heavy Pan-African. So he's in an allyship with CARICOM. Like, these people have so much representation. I don't even understand why people bother. It's getting weird. Fair use.
I don't fucking know, but
that's fire.
That's super fire. Yeah, it's sick. I was gonna come in here and read it proud.
Wait, because I know like Breakfast Club but I got this from TikTok. So Joe Budden and his representatives, if you see this and you didn't want to play, please don't strike my channel. Just issue me a warning or something. But fair use, because this was easily available. Fair use.
I don't fuck.
I saw your comment, Miss Vito. I do want to say thank you to Cyberdyne 100 for the donation. I appreciate you. To everybody who likes, shares, donates, word of mouth, who comes and engages with the content, I appreciate you. This is how platforms grow. I am almost close to getting monetized. I think I need a few hundred more watch hours. And I decided not to pay anybody to follow me so that I can be monetized. I like organic growth because one thing about me is I like engagement. I don't care if it's 2 people in the room with me, as long as we are having a fruitful discussion and we both get to learn from each other. I think it's really weird when people have like 18,000 followers and 1 comment. Is that so? Yeah, I opted not to pay for followers, but I do have another clip here. I want you to check this out. Fair use.
So what issue do you have with foundational Black Americans?
Always feel like y'all always want a handout, or y'all always against about something, or like about what other people.
Who wants a handout?
With this whole reparation thing.
Yeah, what about it?
Like, how do y'all figure that y'all owe reparations?
How are we not old? That's the question. How the hell we not? We built this country so that your family can come over here and flee. Why are we not old?
But okay, but do you guys actually think that that house will ever give you reparations?
Yeah. Ask the Democrats what will happen if it don't happen. Ask Kamala what happens if you don't give it to us. How's that working for them?
But that wasn't just foundational Black American. It was Latinos, half of Black women, Chinese. Like, it was all different races. All
that was us.
Vote.
That was foundational Black Americans who made them crash and burn, and they've admitted it. That was us. We made them crash and burn as punishment, and we did it deliberately. So ask them how that reparations thing worked out when they want to play games with us. You see? See, we can have a ball. We can have a ball with this thing. You can either give us what we want, or we'll let your party crash and burn deliberately, which is what we did to the Democrats. You see how that works? We can do this all day.
See how that works? Little Big Mama Jones says, I'm glad you're a part of my morning routine. Oh, thank you. You will help me remain consistent because I am going to remember that comment when I'm tired. Um, it's really weird for people who say that all we want is handouts, or we're all on welfare, or we're all on this, we're all on that. They do so much better than us. And if you know anything about Caribbeans from a certain time period in New York, they were very flashy. I don't really see them that much, but I'm not really tapped into certain communities the way I used to be. They always, and you always know the type of car they have. They had Legends, Lexuses, and Toyotas. Okay, and this is specific to the Bronx, and I want to say Brooklyn too. And now, at the height of our reparations hearings, even though they have CARICOM, Yvette Clarke, and Winsome Sears, and all these other people that fight, well, Winsome Sears, and Brian Donalds and all of them, and Westmore and all of them, they get all this representation that are very proud to be Caribbean and stuff. They showing up in our reparations hearings, especially in New York. We can't forget they crashed the one in Atlanta. I think it was Fulton County. To be so doing so much better than us and all this other shit, they sure want a lot of things from us, or they sure are jealous. I'm still working on my compilation that's going to show how they're not disadvantaged in places like New York. There's no reason for them to complain about our music because they have more than enough clubs and parties, and they really tell their history until we get to speaking about ours. And I can't stand when immigrants do that. Nobody goes around talking about their ancestors until the moment Black Americans say something like this. Well, guess what I found out? Our ancestor did X, Y, Z. Our ancestor created this, that, and the third. Well, you talk about slavery so much. There was slavery on the islands. There was slavery in Puerto Rico. Here's a greedy immigrant here. Very greedy. Listen to this mess. Fair use.
Then we also need offensive actions around prosecutions. We need real accountability, because at the end of the day, the people that have been inflicting this harm need to be prosecuted. They need to be brought before us, and they need to be held account for the trauma that they have created, and we are going to have some form of reparation.
I swear she was trolling us with that statement. Ms. Vita says, I am convinced all the callers on social platforms are paying. Yeah, there are some that they won't stay out of our rooms. They come in there, FBA are so, hateful and divisive and this and that. They're so mean. They're like the Triple K. And I'm like, why do you subject yourself into coming into our rooms if you feel that way about us? Please know, I have a lot of the Pan-African rooms blocked. I have a lot of the Caribbean rooms blocked. And the moment a Latino room falls into my algorithm, they're usually blocked too. Now, there are some rooms that I could go into because they're calm. They're still annoying, but I still got to get a pulse on with the Pan-Africans until when. God damn it. Because they're the ones that's primarily, them and the Boulay coach always explains how the Boulay and the D9 and them have been blocking us all this time. And the Pan-Africans are very, very, they're the reason for that image there that I have instead of my profile picture. Little Big Mama Jones says, the question is, who told them reparations is a handout? White people told them that. I got to tell y'all, these immigrants on these platforms are not saying this, maybe one or two new things they're adding to the mix, but everything they say, such as reparations, is a handout. We when they tell us you take only welfare, you're all on Section 8. All you want is a handout. You're EBT babies. You're this, you're that, and the third. You don't know where you come from. You don't know your second great grandparents' name. All of that was told to me in 2010 by white men when I joined Facebook. and started being on Facebook heavy. And I went into this group. It was called Tell It Like It Is. I think it was called that. But it turned out to be a very racist group. That's where I met a lot of people from the South. I met some hoteps, and we'd be going at everybody else, the white men, this one and that one. And I got to tell you, it's kind of easy to debate Anglo-Saxon or a white American. But them damn Russians. That's why when people be like, Russians, you know, they never had slavery and this. And I'm like, really? Because in New York, honey, or in that group, And that's why I always have a Black American man as my partner, like on speed dial. Because I used to get into these, I just used to jump out on the limb, y'all. But the Russians were so hard to debate. I would definitely have. This is why I know I'm in a smart. And I'd be like, look, I'm in a debate with this Russian guy, and he's saying X, Y, Z. How I can? He's like, look, calm down. This is, you know what I'm saying? And if y'all ain't got a friend like that, you better get one. Now, I'm not saying they got to be a man. I'm just giving Black American men their props, y'all. But yeah, them damn Russians. So those people who say things like reparations is a handout, all you want is a handout, you lazy, you this, that, and the third. If you was on social media since 2010 and encountered white men, okay, that's where the Africans and the melanated immigrants are getting it from. Same script, different year, and just more melanated than the white folks. It's the same mindset. Fair use, y'all, fair use.
A sweep of 13 states today. Authorities arrested more than 100 Jamaican gang members, including some here in California. Officials say they're trying to cripple Jamaican drug rings tied to at least 600 murders. The drug traffickers are also believed to be responsible for 60 to 70% of the crack cocaine in the United States. One official referred to the gangs as this country's most violent organized criminals. 5 of the arrests today were in Southern California. Other big pickups happen in Dallas, New York, and in Miami. Required.
I think it's kind of diabolical that we have the likes of Yvette Clarke acting like, you know what I'm saying? Getting these people all this stuff, but never want to talk about this here. And it's kind of diabolical to think that they should be getting reparations with us when they came here. Who were they targeting but us? And it's alleged they were CIA sanctioned. Do I have the book, the audio book? I watched the video about it. Now, I recently found out about this, but that is the Jamaican Showers Posse, and they went around to different states, and they did what gang members do. So when them people are up on them platforms acting like they so big, bad, and bold, the Haitians and the Jamaicans, this is the Zopound and the Showers Posse, okay? I want to remind them of this stuff here. But anyway, here's the young lady from Long Island that recently came to my attention that's trying to tether on a whole lot of people that don't need to be on our reparations. But listen to what she says very carefully. Fair use.
Hi, my name is Kiana. I'm an organizer, social justice activist, and advocate, and a former progressive candidate for Congress. I'm here to tap you in on politics, elections, and advocacy in New York State from little old Long Island. You should know I have 3 phrases to describe my island: the Sicily to New York's Italy, Alabama of the North, the land of government. Those 3 phrases tend to paint a pretty clear picture of Long Island. Public Commission on Reparations is going to have a hearing right here on Long Island, in Hempstead to be specific. Today is Friday, May 22nd. The hearing's going to be Saturday, May 23rd, from 10 to 2 p.m. If you've been advocating for immigration, Palestine, housing, student loan forgiveness, if you've been talking about the affordability crisis, those are all issues that are directly connected to reparations. Any call to action regarding any of those issues has a foundation in land back and Black Solid and Black Liberation. You can join in person at the Hempstead High School, or you can watch on Zoom. Either way, I've been advocating for Palestine, for immigration, for housing, for climate justice. I've been doing my work. I've been doing the solidarity. I hope to see you there so that you can stand in solidarity with me and my community.
Do I need to play this again? Didn't she just say she's a progressive running for office? I heard that right? And then she said, if you've been advocating for Palestine, immigration, and that's the foundation for reparations or something. Notice how they never used to say foundation or foundational. Now all of a sudden they trying to appropriate that word. Notice how she said her little island, meaning Long Island, and saying it's the Alabama of the North. When that happened? Now, I'm not saying Alabamians didn't migrate to New York, but we usually connect New York with the Carolinas. That would have made more sense. That's why it makes me think that there's an agenda for them to touch, talk, or try to appropriate something about Alabama. AOC mentioned pulling up to Alabama. And Cardi B, just if you go to Brother Melrose Radio, because I deleted it from my phone. I'm sick of Cardi. I was going to show it, but I'm sick of Cardi. Brother Melrose Radio has Cardi talking about, if you talk to a white boy in Alabama, he'll tell you, come on, y'all. What's the agenda? That's 3 women immigrant, because Puerto Ricans are considered foreign. Their land could be sold at any time. They're only a territory. They're not a state. 3 foreign. I don't know what Kiana is, but I heard her accent. And she look a little foreign. Got that gap tooth and all that other stuff. And she is literally trying to tether on immigration, Palestine, and she's calling Long Island, Alabama of the North. Anybody from Long Island, is your migration path Alabama? Maybe where she's at, there's a lot of Alabamians or people who connect to Alabama. But I got to tell you, it's happening in 3s. They all mentioning Alabama, and they all got another agenda. And it ain't the agenda of delineation. Let me read y'all comments. I see 10 comments. Uh-oh. Okay, so Little Big Mama Jones says Russians are our first invaders, Siberian Native Americans. Okay. Ms. Vita says people who are giving tons of handouts, talking greasy against us. Immigrants receive so much free money, but it's kept quiet. Well, we are doing the research, Ms. Vita, and every time I find out something new, when I tell you I was so drained, we have no representation. Mainly, everybody that I looked up and new people that's coming to my attention are talking about broader. Let me write it in the comments. BROADER. Broader policies when it comes to, when we say we need something specifically for foundational Black Americans, here they come. All their policies are for the broader Black population. When they say broader, that tethers on the Caribbeans and stuff. Now, when they talk, hey, Sister Keisha, when they talk about the Caribbean getting stuff, it's never the broad. We're not Caribbean, so it's never like this stuff is their stuff. So Yvette Clarke wrote a bill. Excuse me, I don't have the name, but you could go research it. She wanted to address the firearm trafficking from the Caribbeans, right? Or to the Caribbeans. And she had authored the bill to say no less than like 90 million. Why? I just showed y'all the Showers posse. Why we got to address their criminality? They came here with criminal intention. And if it's being, you know what? I'm so sick of her. She also gets things, well, maybe we should address it, but to demand 90 something million, and 9 times out of 10, guess who's smuggling it? A Caribbean with the connections. When the Haitians say, well, America's funding this and that, and they're bringing the weapons and stuff. They send the weapons. How Haiti get the weapons? A Haitian American is bringing y'all the weapons. But here's Yvette Clarke getting funding sent to Haiti to stimulate Haiti's economic growth. And we got 350,000 Haitians here who don't want to go home. They're going all to other islands. Can we reevaluate all of the funding that she's been able to get every other nation? And I have a clip of her not believing that we want the SAVE Act in place. Who, Kiana, Ms. Rita, I don't know if Kiana is foundational Black American. She could be, but I sense some other things going on with Miss Kiana. That's alleged. That's my belief. And it's based off of patterns, speaking points. If she is FBA, she's a shill. You heard her say she's progressive. Those are extreme Democrats. I was horrified when I found it, but I was glad I found it. Now I can add her name to the list and ask anybody who's in Long Island, get the word, or if you know somebody, tell them to look into that candidate because she is harmful to the delineation movement and the reparations hearings happening here in New York. And you don't want her in Congress because pretty soon she's going to be on the caucus, right? That she can make decisions for the nation. Lou says Winsome Sears has crashed and burned here in Virginia, as she should. She was the one, and she is a Republican, a woman who migrated here from Jamaica at the age of 5, says that we should move on from slavery. They sat her ass up in the interview, and when they called her the first African American, she ain't say she was Jamaican. So now people were looking at her, those who are less astute, probably white or some shit, talking about she African American. That's a way to play on voters. Isn't Long Island very anti-Black? I've only been to Long Island a few times, but yeah, I heard. But certain sections, because there's some of us there too. So all New Yorkers, even if we have a tie to the South, we don't necessarily migrate to the South. A lot of people throughout the years, I'm going to say the late 1970s is when my anecdotal experience of understanding certain things. A lot of New York people from the city, New York City, will migrate to Long Island. I have friends that they had to move from the block we were on. Some went to Long Island. Now I'm finding some people from New York will go to Philly, Connecticut, and now see, here goes the Caribbean. The Caribbean, Jamaicans specifically, do migrate to Connecticut. But now, and I got to tell you, if you research the 2020 through 2026 census, the Caribbean population has been on a decline in New York. So all this, if it's only primary, this young girl said we're going to hear Caribbean music because Caribbeans are outnumbering everybody. It's a primarily Caribbean city. How, when your numbers have been on an active decline because y'all are immigrating, not to England, not to Canada, not back to your islands, but y'all are following Black Americans throughout the nation. So you're no longer just going to Springfield, I think that's Boston, or Connecticut. You're finding your asses down there in the South too. So the Caribbean population in New York has been on the decline. They just roaches. They're like roaches. So they got their asses in our government. Tell me why NYCHA has a Caribbean Association for the employees. That was a dramatic pause effect. Why do they need a Caribbean Association for NYCHA employees? So I have been researching a lot of things that all these other ethnic groups get specifically for them. And that's why I was so drained the other day. Because the more and I be researching, knowing what I'm going to find, and it's still upsetting to me. Because I can't believe people that we help the whole diaspora. Even our children help the diaspora. And this is how they lock us out. But I do have more videos. Peace, B1 Maxwell. Ms. Rita says, yes, our Black leadership sold us out long ago. We just catching on. It's been the broader agenda for some time now. Now we know we pushing back. Exactly. Watch this. Fair use.
Person you see above me has gone viral for saying that African Americans are colonizers because the U.S. military sends them to Palestine to colonize. Which is problematic because Palestinians like this will get more upset that the soldiers were black than they will get about the chalk commander-in-chief that sent the soldiers in the first place. The same colonizer that wants your land uses our bodies to get it. So why are you mad at us? Talking about this reminds me of the book Afro-Pessimism, where Dr. Frank B. Wilderson starts to talk about where pro-Palestine and pro-blackness begin to clash. Listen up, y'all.
The shameful and humiliating way the soldiers run their hands up and down your body, he said. Then he added, but the shame and humiliation runs even deeper if the Israeli soldier is an Ethiopian Jew. The earth gave way. The thought that my place in the unconscious of Palestinians fighting for their freedom was the same dishonorable place I occupied in the minds of whites in America and Israel chilled me. I gathered enough wits about me to tell him that his feelings were odd, seeing how Palestinians were at war with Israelis, and white Israelis at that. How was it that the people who stole his land and slaughtered his relatives were somehow less of a threat in his imagination than black Jews, often implements of Israeli madness, who sometimes do their dirty work? What, I wondered silently, was it about black people, about me, that made us so fungible we could be tossed like a salad in the minds of oppressors and the oppressed? I was faced with the realization that in the collective unconscious, Palestinian insurgents have more in common with the Israeli state and civil society than they do with black people. What they share is a largely unconscious consensus that blackness is a locus of abjection to be instrumentalized on a whim. There I sat, yearning in solidarity with my Palestinian friends' yearning for the full restoration of Palestinian sovereignty, mourning in solidarity with my friend's mourning over the loss of his insurgent cousin, yearning, that is, for the historical and political redemption of what I thought was a violated commons to which we both belonged. When all of a sudden, my friend reached down into the unconscious of his people and slapped me upside the head with a wet gym shoe.
And I played that on purpose. I was hoping that he would have played the young lady in the picture who he had based that think piece off of, because I got to tell you, I watched as that conflict in the Middle East started happening, right? And then I watched as our young activists, right? I'm going to have to say melanated because I'm hoping some of the Caribbean jumped on board too, but our activists went and they was championing the cause for the Palestinians, right? And they all was putting watermelons in their profiles and stuff. But I already seen where it was going, right? Because I told y'all I've been on these apps since 2010. I just wasn't tapped into certain things, but over on Facebook, it was a different type of demographic. So I've seen no matter what we do for people, the moment they get upset with us, even though we did everything we had to do for them, they drop the ball on us. All the anti-blackness comes out. So I watched our younger generations just go ahead and champion their causes. And I was like, And I remember one time before my son blocked me from his Facebook, right? I used to just go over there and you know, snoop around. I'm snoop, doggy dog, right? And see what kind of girl he like in this month and that month, right? So he made a post, right? I hope he don't watch my channel, right? But he made a post. He said, I'm Afro-American and Afro-Jamaican. That's not my concern, right? And them girls was tearing him up. And I was like, can't say nothing. I went to tell him how to get out of it. But, sometimes he got to learn, right? So, but... And this girl kept saying, I'm little Malcolm X. And then his friends started jumping in and they were going back and forth. I was like, okay. Because one thing my son told me was I'd be talking at the wrong time on some of his posts and some other people. And I was like, damn, I really can't say nothing. Let me just read the comments, biting my nails and shit, hoping he don't embarrass me and stuff. But I felt where he was coming from. These young girls were so gung-ho, but I understood what was going to happen. Sure enough, that lady that you just seen from that man's post right there, right? I don't even want to call it a think piece because it's facts. She was the first one I seen when I realized I'm no longer seeing watermelons in our people's profiles. She was crying. Black Americans this and Black people that. And after we did so much for Black, like, throwing our activists under the bus, like they wasn't risking, some was losing jobs, if not mistaken. The small hats run everything. I knew where that was going. So the reason why I played that was because this is why I say she weird. She's weird. The reparations hearing she's talking about is not like years ago before the conflict. This wasn't before the reparations from Palestine, the Palestinians decided that Black people were their enemies because they wanted to focus on the election. And I find it really weird that all these people have some anti-Black sentiment the moment we can't help them, but now we got to worry about intersectionality and putting them on our reparations claims. I'm tired of that, y'all. Aren't y'all tired of that? So she is a problem. She says she is a progressive and she's running for office in Long Island. I hope my Long Island, New York FBA get this message that is a harm to our reparations hearings. She's a harm to our reparations because it's not just the city has its own thing going on from him, dummy, but for New York State, she is a harm, y'all. Okay? And that's my warning to my Long Islanders. Please do what you have to do, meaning as far as voting, I don't condone violence. I condone self-defense. But she's a harm in the way you get rid of her type of harm is to make sure she don't get in office. Any kind of office, because that'll be her end. Let me read your comments. Her energy off. Good morning, Lorraine Williams, Rich Rising. Well, I'm trying to catch up on the comments, y'all. Okay, so Little Big Mama Jones says, if we hold our money and vote away from them, they'll leave. That's right. I always say a business, right, can't thrive where they're not supported. So far, we do know they're getting the grants, the loans, and they're utilizing, I believe, Section 3. They have things targeting them just for businesses. But if we don't go into the stores, right? So there's a if you follow Jazzy Uncensored on TikTok, she gave the name of a Black farmer who ships meat. They sell meat, y'all. So we are finding our people, our Black farmers and stuff like that. And I understand that you may be in a place where their businesses are heavily populated, but we got to think unconventionally. I also showed y'all the other day our Black Year by Maggie Anderson and told y'all to look into her book on Amazon or her interviews on YouTube. Her and her family decided that they were not going to and this was around 2013, y'all. And she's the reason why I believe so strongly in group economics. right? That's how, I started understanding the dollar circulation because I'd see the memes and stuff like that. But that she's also the reason why I know we could do it, even in New York. She explained how hard it was. She explained how the Asians, specifically Chinese, kept the dollars in their communities. So look out for her now. I don't remember where she said her family was from the States. But if you had to ask me, she's lineage. But you could check that on your own. Why? Because of the time period that book was made. The way that she referenced Black and identify as Black is no way that I think that she could be anything else, her and her family. So they took the time, they did a year worth of circulating the Black dollar with only Black businesses. And so she has a book out on it, interviews, stuff like that. We always go to Dr. Claude Anderson. He's great, right? But I wanted to introduce, before I knew about Dr. Claude Anderson, I got to be honest, I was introduced to Maggie Anderson first, not, face to face, but her work. And so I wanted to give people who are on the fence, especially in places like New York, that is totally possible. Just look at Maggie Anderson's work and the things that she had to say and how it takes dedication. So Lou says, I am from Hempstead, New York, and I don't agree with any of what she says. She is slick, right? Lou says she must be a tether. That's why we get the language airtight, and because immigrants, most native New York, originate from North Carolina and South Carolina and other places south. That's true, right? There is a small population in New York and New Jersey. I can't really speak for Philly that are just from New York, from those who were enslaved in New York. But even for them, they got to be on code, yeah. Or we gonna fight. So we do have generational New Yorkers. Kiana ain't one. Kiana ain't one. And she said the Alabama of the North. So that's kind of weird to me. 3 progressives, 3 women, 3 possibly foreign, 2 in the possible. Speaking on Alabama and not the Carolinas, something's going on. A great Saturday, Keith, for you too. Little Big Mama Jones says, messy mama. Lorraine Williams says, hey, BX and B1 family, great discussion. I am in Westchester County, New York. My mom came from West Central Alabama to New York in the 60s, and we're still here. What and who is she really the activist for? Exactly. She's mentioning intersectionality, all this stuff. And some people said that, they said me and Afro don't really have the, I forgot what they said, for intersectional conversations, right? So for Black Americans, we are not without flaw, right? We have our flaws. We do understand that colorism and gender divides and gender blames and stuff. But for me, anecdotally though, with that said, and the people that I chose to surround myself with here on these apps, some I have met in person, right? Very few. But when we said we moving forward as one, being one sound, we're not doing the gender divide, the colorism, we're not doing X, Y, Z. We started noticing how other people were speaking as if they were Black Americans, instigating the gender divide, the colorism issues, the tropes that Black men don't protect Black women now. We were supposed to have a conversation about what does protecting Black women look like with Black men, meaning Black Americans with Black Americans, right? So we never really had that conversation, and people say that, me and Apple don't have I forgot the word they use, the temperament for it or know how to handle it correctly. We don't want to start a gender divide when we decided we're moving forward as one band, one sound, right? So I can acknowledge Black women do have unique experiences for us. to us and harms done to us. The same way we can admit our men have the same thing. But when we get to talking about it in certain forums, it becomes, when we're talking about Black women's issues, then, especially on an open forum, it becomes, well, Black men too. And then when we talk about Black men, well, Black women too. And so sometimes certain issues won't be addressed when we're moving forward as one band, one sound. So we're not without flaw. I believe that we are healing. We still have some talking to do. And when we say Black men should protect Black women, right, or they don't protect Black women, what do you mean by that? And what does protecting Black women look like for y'all? So I can't admit there's times that I feel unprotected, right? But I don't expect Black men that I don't know from other states to protect me. I think that comes in with family, spouse, community that I'm in. And on these apps, I got to tell you, foundational Black Americans, the men have taken up for me to the point where I realize that people outside of New York will take up for me, especially if I'm right. So we do have to have those talks, but I don't want it to be a back and forth thing. Now, what that lady is, where we try to put one harm done to one gender over the other, because I've been in battles with the Caribbean woman, right? So I'm gonna give you this example. I was modeling for this man on TikTok. And the lady came up and we got out of her that she was like Bermudian, Bahamians, one of those things, right? And then she went to talking about answering the problem. She was like, well, if Black men protected us. And I was like, wait, whoa, you Caribbean. So, I mean, what Black men? Are you talking about your Caribbean men or Black American men? Because this is important, right? If you have a problem with your men, please don't say that it's Black men. And she went to telling me how she F's Black men so she could speak on it. So I cussed out and got knocked from the room. So we do have to have these conversations, but when people bring up intersectionality for reparations, reparations should be the one thing that intersectionality does not take precedence. Take the forefront, right? We are getting reparations as one band, one sound. And if your ass want to go over there to the intersectionality community and start some programs of your own, I will definitely support that. But when you start introducing other people and saying intersectionality and all of this for reparations, you're doing a disjustice to us. I don't think the ancestors, when they were enslavement, was fighting intersectionality wise. I think they were protecting each other. And the first ones off the plantation, I don't know. I don't think they was stopping and talking about intersectionality at that time. It was one band, one sound. The men were in the fields with the women were in the fields. And I don't know what y'all thinking, but there were men in the big house and not everybody was light-skinned in the big house. So I don't know, y'all. But yeah, she's an activist of too much shit at our reparations hearings when some of that stuff can really be at a city planning council or city council planning meeting or something else. Don't bring all that shit to the reparations hearing. And please, the progressives are really harmful for us at this time. And why is there a need for progressives? And I got a video where they talking about getting rid of borders and stuff. So Lorraine says her energy is off, and Little Big Mama Jones says, yeah. So, yeah, I don't want to get stuck on intersectionality because nothing, whatever I say, some people just going to come at me like, BX don't care, she's a pick me, or, and that's horrible. I think I give a balance, but I got to tell you that protecting Black women, I feel Online, yeah, but what does protecting Black women look like in the physical world? I think that's community, spouse, family, outside of law enforcement, y'all, if y'all gotta call law enforcement. Um, and even then, did y'all see this is something that was told to me too, or brought to my attention. So there was a woman who had brothers and she got into a fight with her partner, and her brothers got unalive. So when we saying protect Black women, we have to talk about all those aspects. Everything. And I'm going to get back on topics that I know I have the wherewithal to address. But when you mention intersectionality and reparations, it's a red flag to me. She's trying to put on Palestinians, immigration. She said she's been standing in solidarity and the foundation of reparations or being Black. And it's just weird. So let me see what other, and I played that one. Okay, this one is 3 minutes, y'all. Fair use. Fair use. Y'all could comment what y'all thought about what I said about intersectionality, because I'm always open for other perspectives, education, and where y'all think I got it wrong at, right? Because I don't want to go around and just, I have to do my research. So if you have something that you would like to say about what I just said about intersectionality and the Black American community, then that's fine. I'd really love to hear it. Good morning, Cyberdyne. I was saying thank you for the donation yesterday. I appreciate you. All right, let me catch up on your comments. Maxwell says it's really foundational towards everybody. These politics are showing people's true colors. Wow, exactly. Little Big Mama Jones says Blackbird Farms also ship chicken, eggs, and such. So listen to this again, y'all, for the replay game. Blackbird Farms also ship chicken, eggs, and such. Let me see if I can pin it. I star your comment. Hopefully, it'll stay up so when people come in the room, they'll see it. Ms. Vita says those intersectionist folks only want to derail reparations delineation movement, correct? Lou says Long Island FBA get rid of that tether, block her from office. Ms. Vita states, look at white women, no matter what they say, they have their whitey groups back. That's true. Case in point, Hillary versus the Don. All those pro-women voted for the Don. Uh-oh. Maxwell Jenkins, I wish all those folks would leave our reparations claim alone. We will get them, though. Yes. We're going to get them. Lou says, one moment. Yes, we can starve all groups out economically. We can do it. Black American women and men can do this. Especially Black women can do this. Ms. Vita says, I never understood Black feminists. We as women carry male and female within our womb. I don't want more for one over the other. Yeah, I think reparations, intersectionality should be left out. Everybody who's entitled to reparations will get reparations, right? And then if we have a passion, right? We can take our reparations and stoke our passion. But must we have the arguments or have the tethering on of other folks and stuff? So Miss Kiana there, I wouldn't put her in office. I would not vote for her. I gotta tell y'all, I know we talk about down balloting, and I am going to be looking at policies, but right now I don't see no viable Democrats in this new term, new to me, because some of y'all are very, very astute with politics. I learned a lot from you guys. Them progressives. Mm-mm. To be progressive is anti-delineation, anti-foundational Black Americans. And I'm gonna say that with my full chest. I don't get Blue Big Mama Jones says, I don't get into the intersectionality because I know it's just a way to tether others into Black people's struggles. Yeah. Fair use.
The way these melanated immigrants speak so brazenly with their whole chest against Black Americans, FBA, ADOS, getting reparations.
My ancestors come from the Caribbean, and there were slaves in the Caribbean. And they didn't qualify for this. Well, here's the challenge. There are so many difficulties with trying to enact reparations, in part because the question is who gets them. Potentially, I could fall into that category. I honestly have called a pipe dream in the past, and I think that's what it is.
Sorts of complicated problem. You're not actually talking about how to fix those problems if you're only talking about reparations.
Is it fair that there's no reparations, no restitution, nothing?
Should the Irish get reparations, by the way?
Well, here's a fact. Slavery ended 154 years ago. It's been a long, long time since we had slavery in this country. And you have people like my family. I'm Black, but my family came to the United States in 1962. My parents are from Costa Rica. Do I get a check?
These are some clever, snaky, simple people. You notice how they always ask melanated immigrants about our business. So do you think that Black Americans should get reparations? But they never turn around and ask Black Americans how we feel about immigrants, Black immigrants, or melanated immigrants getting reparations from the UK. And the way they speak so loudly and boldly against reparations to us from America, you would never think that they open their mouths to ask for reparations for their atrocities. And I say ask because they sound a little too timid. But check this out.
All the damage that was done over hundreds of years, at least 12.5 million Africans taken enslaved and taken across the Atlantic, all the damage that was done to the African countries, all the damage which continues with regards to racism, the number is 18.2 trillion.
He said melanated immigrants from other countries are owed $18.2 trillion. Now, see, I'm not mad at him. Get your paper. But what I don't like is you interfering in our business, yet you're around your countries saying this.
I hear all this talk about reparations, but what we really looking to repair? Maybe it's the broken family ties caused by generational genocide, no generalizing.
Chandler Prescott is more comfortable than most riffing on reparations. He's a leading voice in the national conversation.
Usually when we hear reparations, we think of money. It is so much more than money. It's about franchisement economically. It's about building out the healthcare system. It's about education.
Jamaica was the Caribbean's largest slave market. The British imported into Jamaica 1.3 million Africans. At the end of slavery in 1838, there were 300,000 remaining. The question has to be asked then, how do you reduce 1.3 million people to 300,000 after 200 years? Less than 25% survival. Slavery in Jamaica was genocidal. When the British Prime Minister, Mr. Cameron, visited Jamaica, he did not wish to speak of the colonial past.
This is so sinister. This is giving me envy. They know that they don't have the audience like we have when it comes to reparations, so they don't want us to get it. But thank God it doesn't matter what they don't want.
Yeah, like I'm speechless. And those same, people from Jamaica who are in our government has told us to move on from slavery, said that some have said because their people wouldn't get it, or there's so many Black people here in the United States who would be eligible. Y'all don't have the records and this and that. Foundational Black Americans absolutely have the records. You know who don't have the records? Many of those Caribbean islands. Let that sink in. Now, so yeah, I wanted to say, I almost got twisted in my thoughts because I was about to say fair use, but I wanted to thank the content creators again who allow others to download their videos so that we can repurpose and educate others. So this whole live fair use is enacted. I'm proud of myself. I stuck to a topic, y'all, showing y'all about reparations, the history, how others are trying to tether on. And now I want to jump from, and how some of those folks are anti-Black American. Now I want to hit on Yvette Clarke and the CBC. Watch this, y'all. Fair use.
Ask yourself, when was the last time the Congressional Black Caucus, this institutional body, when have they ever used that collective power? Because right now they're about 58 members strong. When have they ever used their collective power to block a piece of federal legislation that they knew that was bad for us? When was the last time? When was the last time they used their collective power in the House to shut down a piece of legislation that they knew was bad for the community? And I ain't talking about some strong-worded press release or some letter. I ain't talking about some press conference when they in front of the cameras and they want to do the dog and pony show. I ain't talking about some post that's being circulated around Instagram and X. I'm talking about blocked a bill. When was the last time they blocked the bill and they said, because we just say no? When was the last time? You can't even go back to the crime bill because the majority of the CBC voted for it.
Okay, yeah. So I did get in his comments to tell him to research Yvette Clarke, and he might have known this. You know, content creators, influencers, they have their topic that they're going to choose for the day, you know, or for the post. And told him to really look at Yvette Clarke and all the caucuses she's on and the caucuses that she's created. But I have some clips of Yvette Clarke. And so I'm going to say this. I think his video was before the SAVE Act really came out. And so if we got to add, and 76% of Black Americans was for it. So they blocked the bill or gave resistance to a bill that Black Americans would actually need. And that's how people would get on the the voters registration to vote to registrate. Registrate to vote. Oh, getting tongue-tied. Fair use.
You just stated that the SAVE Act is an attack on civil rights and is racist. Could you just explain that further? Because 76% of Black Americans support the SAVE Act, according to CNN.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, we find it racist because at the end of the day, it's targeting Black communities with a cost burden. We've been through this historically, right? Where we've been prohibited from voting because we didn't know how many bubbles were in a soap bar. And so this is just a new iteration of that, and we're very focused on defeating it.
But if 76% of Black Americans support voter ID,
I don't believe that's 76%.
CNN reported it?
Well, that's
possible.
that's possible.
Okay.
But I do not agree with it.
Who cares? I don't agree with her people getting the Caribbean Count Bill, but I bet you she's still going to push for it. So I got conflicting reports. I saw that it passed in 2024, but when I checked again yesterday, it's saying it didn't pass. I got to tell you, these people are slick. And sometimes you got to tell the AI system, don't give you the politically correct answer because you're not pro-immigration and shit. It's like they got these Democrat talking points when they give you the answers, and that ain't the answer I'm looking for. I want the facts with sources cited, and it's out there, but they're giving you the palatable ones. So there's a lot of things that Yvette Clarke is getting. Like, I don't agree with her sitting in the United States in the office dressed all in Jamaican attire talking about Brooklyn is the 15th parish of Jamaica, like, or that they need more immigrants. Watch this. Fair use.
Wow. Listen to Democratic Yvette Clarke out of New York City openly announce how they're going to cheat and why they love and need illegals. Play the clip.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. We have a diaspora that can absorb a significant number of these migrants. And when I hear colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed,
they just openly are saying it right in the public, just out in your face.
No room in the inn. I'm saying, I need more people in my district, but just for redistricting purposes. And those members could clearly fit here.
Damn, they're not even quiet about it no more. They just all out in the open, just telling it to your face outright how they plan on taking the power and keeping it. This is exactly why the Democrats and these liberal judges are fighting so hard and are so desperate in trying to keep these illegals in the country, even the criminal ones.
Isn't that crazy? But she's Jamaican. Kamala is Jamaican and Hindu, right? Jamaicans are very, very bold in certain settings. I just got to say that. Because Kamala was also the one that says, no, I am not going to do anything specifically for Black people. And Yvette Clarke there, we have a diaspora who could totally handle. No, the fuck. Let me not cuss. But they don't see themselves as melanated colonizers. Because everywhere I search, right? When something happens in a certain borough, my first mind is to go to or ask questions. Was there a Black community there during or after emancipation, specifically the Reconstruction era? Was there an all-Black town? And I'm talking about New York. And sure enough, there was. So they displaced us in a lot of ways and stuff. We can't handle no more. Do you know I'm so upset with New York right now? It's like, and I keep saying this, I don't see the pretty people. What I mean by that, there was a time, even from when I was working traditional jobs, women, specifically Black American women, we were dressed to the nines, honey, going to work, taking our kids to school. Not saying daddy wasn't there, okay? I'm not saying everybody was single mothers, but I'm just talking about Black Americans, Black people, even the other groups. We weren't so beat down and downtrodden looking, right? I can't see the people taking their kids. Now, I'm not outside every day, y'all. I gotta say that. Make that disclaimer. But every time I go outside, there's somebody on a damn scooter. Nobody's in heels. Nobody's in shoes even. Just looking bad all over the place. And I honestly believe that it's because of two things. The Biden and Harris immigration debacle, along with Mayor Adams, dumping all them people in our communities, right? And also the pandemic. Because I don't believe we could say that word on YouTube. So I'm not seeing the light, bright, liveliness of New York, the hustle and bustle in the Bronx, because I'm in the Bronx. And I think that it's reflecting on us, and we don't want to admit that we are just a depressed borough at this time. And the reason why I keep bringing this up is because I've been saying I was going to go to church to find the pretty people. Meaning the nicely dressed, y'all. The nicely dressed. So, one of my nephews sent me a video of a person, a young lady who I felt could possibly be Caribbean, and she was talking about people not speaking on New York and this and that. So finally, I seen a video of what the beef or the anger from that young lady was about. And the young lady was like, I went to New York and they supposed to be this fashion capital and stuff, but I was around 7,000 women or girls and, whatever term she used. And Nobody there was dressed like, and that is really a knock because New York is known for fashion. We have Fashion Week and that's why a lot of us was upset about that damn statue, Foundational Black Americans. But I noticed the Africans and Caribbeans were all there like, oh, but she looks like a regular person and stuff. And we was like, but it's in Times Square, dress her up. We wasn't worried about the size, damn it. New York is known for dressing. And somebody who don't live in the city was like, I ain't see nobody nicely dressed. And I had to ask my nephew, what you send me this video for? Because I can't agree with New York at this time. I agree with the lady outside of New York. And I got to tell you, I'm going to blame it on Yvette Clarke, Biden and Harris, and Eric Adams, and all these people that dumped these people in our communities to the point where we're still being locked out of job markets, right? Resources are still being siphoned from us, right? You're letting a bunch of third worlders into this motherfucking country, and they're riding around in scooters. But back in the days, I was riding around on the back of motorcycles. They ain't even on motorized motorcycles, mopeds, any of that shit. It's starting to look like their homelands when they're traveling on them scooters. I'm so pissed off at the Bronx right now. Now, the CNAs who try to dress their little uniform up and wear the little tight and wear the nice sneakers and stuff. Okay. All right. Y'all look all right. But where are the pretty people? Why is everybody riding around on scooters and not motorcycles or some shit or driving or some shit? Why I gotta be looking at people on these scooters? I just had to rant, y'all. I had to rant. I got to tell you, though, I think, I really think it's the economic condition. Now, if you really heard me speak, I say, well, I haven't heard a street sweeper in a while. I got to say, the universe heard me, y'all. I seen 2 street sweepers yesterday. Yeah. Now, can we get the ones who know how to dress out on the street to give us a little inspiration? You cannot walk around looking just any old type of way because it's depressing to other people. I like to compliment women on their shoes and ask them where they got their shoes from. I see nobody I could compliment at this time, y'all. It's just a fact. And I just had to take that little, rant because it's people like Yvette Clarke saying that we can take in all these immigrants. They got, y'all see Nick Shirley's videos, and that's Canal Street, of how they doing the street vending. Well, the Bronx, I got to tell you, we got them off-brand Latinos. They're not Puerto Rican. They're not Dominican. Who else? We ain't never really had no high population of Mexicans, right? So they're not those 2 main groups, right? They're like the off-brand, right? And they're selling on the street old clothes and shoes. And I mean, it's just laid out. Nobody's bothering them. Nobody's asking them for a vendor's license. So if you let people come and just dump them in and siphon our resources, and we're looking at flea markets with thirdly used, not secondhand used, thirdly used clothes and mopeds or scooters roaming around the Bronx, don't you think we all gonna be a little depressed around here? So to my people who may be facing seasonal depression and you're like me, wondering where, the liveliness, the prettiness of the Bronx has gone, okay? Be sure to take your spiritual baths, and if you're not into all of that, some Epsom salt. Rub it on your skin and just shower normally to lift some of that negativity and depression off of you, please. Because it's really rough up here. We going through it. Okay. I think I could get back on track because I could go all day, y'all. Talking about the Bronx and the decline of our city. And I'm really, really, really upset. But I don't have a nightlife. So let me be clear. I don't have a nightlife. So maybe our people are in clubs or lounges or just having an after work drink with coworkers are looking a lot better than what I'm seeing today because it's horrible to me. But yeah, but how can we get her? They got to vote her out. We cannot disband the caucuses. I looked. There's like no formal way to disband all these caucuses. But if they don't have a seat in Congress, how could they sit on a caucus? Yvette Clarke is up for reelection, but that's state and local. I don't think she's going to be like on a main, you know? So that's up to Brooklyn. But if she got all them immigrants in her district, I don't know if they're going to vote her out, y'all. She hosts town hall calls to help people evade ICE. So it might be hard to get rid of her. But in the event y'all hear my voice, y'all really can't be happy with the look of the city right now, especially if you're in the Bronx. So let me be clear. Cyberdyne says she no black. Maxwell says the CBC is a finesse. Yvette Clarke has multiple head positions and multiple caucuses. How is that possible? Yes. And do you know have y'all heard me say that New York FBA actually outnumbers the melanated immigrants? We don't have power of media. Yvette Clarke, look at the media caucus. I think it's the diversity in media caucus. She created that caucus. And so it made sense why I could see two Spanish people and a Caribbean before our reparations hearings really got underway, giving insight on our reparations committee. And so I like to read comments, and our men were up there like, why is that Caribbean talking on reparations? So one person was like, and he was Latino, he was like, well, she's a journalism student. That's why. So, I was a journalism student until 2024. So I had gotten my second degree in journalism, but my last degree overall, even though my aunt's like, go back to college for a PhD. I'm like, But anyway, I said, well, she's a Caribbean. She's not a U.S. descendant of chattel slaves. And there are U.S. descendants of chattel slavery who are journalism students. They deserve the chance to talk about their reparations, something that impacts them and not her. And they couldn't answer me back. I said it a lot more professionally, y'all. It's just me and y'all talking. So, but I had to let them know that excuse is not going to fly. You have Black American journalism students. Should not be no way a Caribbean is sitting there talking about our reparations hearings. Y'all got to start calling. And that's exactly what I mean, y'all. So one of the caucuses that she helped to create, Yvette Clarke, was, I think it's the Diversity and Media Caucus. But if you look at the caucuses, just put in Yvette Clarke's name and ask all the caucuses that she is on and list her primary functions. That caucus that I'm saying should come up. Also, ask what she has successfully championed, and notice, and then do a comparison. What has she successfully championed for the Caribbean? And what has she successfully championed for just foundational Black Americans or just U.S. descendants of chattel slavery? And you'll see anything they say that she supports for foundational Black Americans is performative. They said that she championed, but championed is a little different than authored, right? So she helped to champion Juneteenth. We see how that worked out, right? And that's not me putting down Juneteenth. We've been celebrating it all since 1866. Some outside of Texas a little bit later, right? Because we found out about it a little bit later. So we didn't need it federalized. We don't need no more holiday street signs, statues. We don't need. Stop trying to put our heroines on a coin. Our heroines, our heroes will want us to have reparations. How you going to put them on a coin and not give us the coin? Like, it don't make sense. At this stage in the game, we got to understand what is performative, what is symbolic, and what is tangible. So we don't want, I'm sorry, y'all. I love Harriet Tubman. But if you tell me Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill or reparations, what I'm going for and what would Harriet tell me to take? Now, if I would take Harriet's $20 bill, she might just come back and shoot me. She wants us to get the money to repair ourselves. So if you do a comparison similar to the way I told you, or suggested you do, because I don't want to sound like I'm telling you what to do, but suggested that y'all do, y'all are gonna see a lot of things that Yvette Clarke has done tangible for the Caribbeans and the Haitians, and the symbolic gestures, the performative gestures. Sometimes they probably just attach her name to stuff for us, but it doesn't lead to anything specifically for us like it does to or for the other people. And then Ms. Rita says congressional black politicians refuse to go against their paycheck and continue seat. The minute they go against the grain, they will be primaried like, is that Bush? Like Cory Bush. And Maxwell says this woman is insufferable and she needs to be stopped. Impeach Yvette Clarke immediately. Black Power fist. Yes, Black Power fist. But we're going to need everybody to vote for a state and local. Little Big Mama Jones says Obama turns, let me see, around and requires you to show ID to get in here. Oh. Why? Why do you need ID to get into a museum? Who knows why Obama did the things he did, right? Lorraine Williams put the thinking emoji. And Ms. Rita says Clark's statement is why Congress struck down redistricting efforts. Okay. Ms. Rita says Maxwell Clark and other immigrants on multiple caucus is to gatekeep our advancement and to siphon from our pots. Yup. Miss Vita. Oh, so y'all having a private conversation. So Maxwell says, yes, ma'am, I agree. Your statement is the truth. The crazy part is they don't outnumber us, but are in power positions. Yes. Little Big Mama Jones says, it looks a hot mess just like in Cali. Yes, I know you're talking about New York. Ms. Vita says they empower position by deception. They ran as Black American, hiding their immigration roots and ultimate agenda. They gain office without vote. Ms. Vita, all immigrant politicians must be voted out of office. And then Maxwell says New York is known for high fashion. We have always looked at y'all as the fly city. Thank you. They're remaking our cities and country in general very ugly, just my opinion. Yes. Yes. Now, and then you know what I noticed too? We are doing study after study after study, commission after commission after commission, especially here in New York for reparations, right? And then New York State has their reparations hearings and stuff going on, and so does New York City. But I noticed AOC walking around the city, right? Checking old waterfronts and getting $1 million for this project, $1 million for that project, $1 million for this project. And there are other, like not necessarily tied to AOC, but newspaper articles that I've seen where there could be waterfronts like in Manhattan and stuff like that, that they have renovated to the tunes of millions. And we still in reparation hearings committee. They ain't been using them waterfront parks all this time. They don't need to start now. Give us our damn money. What the? So I'm of the belief that they pay for things that they care about. However, when they have shown us they don't care, we show them why they should. So we just have to show them why they should care. And I think the Democrats are getting a message. They're concerned about redistricting. They're trying to focus on Alabama for some reason. If y'all find out why, y'all let me know first, please, so I can spread the word. But yeah, the progressives are an issue, and they really do not need to make it into office in New York. Can't do it, y'all. We are overburdened. The Bronx is just depressed and neglected, and yeah. Ms. Vita, Clark can be voted out if white and blacks collab their vote. Grassroots must hit the pavement. Maxwell says, I'm from LA originally, and between the Latinos and that fire, it looks really third worldish, you see. Cyberdon says, my building management put up notices for tenants to stop putting garbage outside their apartment doors when we have perfectly good receptacles outside the building. See? But if people don't care about their homeland, they damn sure ain't gonna care about ours, y'all. Maxwell says, no more symbolism, cut the dang check. Exactly. Cyberdon says, and they call us lazy. I think I'm winding down on the videos. Let me see what else I had. And I played that. Let's see what this is. Fair use, y'all.
I don't identify myself as a black person anymore. I identify myself as a Jamaican person.
I've always identified as a Grenadian. American woman, I'm not black. Everybody was shocked at that statement. Like, you're not black? What are you then? Like, I'm a person. What is black? So what are you? Yellow, like lemonish green? What is
with? It's difficult because I don't identify as being black. Also, like I was
not black, I'm African.
They're not black?
No. It's a big difference. You know what I'm saying? I came in a plane, they came in chains. I'm passenger in their cargo.
And I was 17 to go to college. So I will start off with the fact that I never really saw myself as a black person growing up. I still don't. Of course, it's something.
I'm not black. This is black. I'm not black. I'm not African either. I live in Africa. I'm Somali. I speak Somali. This is my flag.
I don't like this. Like, why are you telling me I have to do this because I'm black when it's been already pointed out that I'm Haitian? Why do I now have to submit to this idea of being black? That makes absolutely no sense to me. And that's what you don't get. A lot of people are...
Black. I have never and will never identify myself as black. And I'll elaborate as to why I'm saying this, because this is needed in so you can pretty much understand that just because I look like you, that does not mean I identify myself as such. So for instance, sweetheart, I am Congolese.
The world is colorblind. I'm not a black man. Look at my face. I'm more like brown.
And
I'm not black. Let me say that again. I am not black. Okay?
Hear me out. Growing up, my mom absolutely hated when we refer to ourselves as black. She's like, you're not black, you're Nigerian. You're...
Right. So they know they're not black. Reparations should never look like what Kiana is trying to make it look like. And even if she want to keep on with that, she did mention foundation and rooted in black and stuff and solidarity and all. These people already told us they weren't black. And that's why I'm so happy that when Dr. William A. Sandy Darity and his wife gave the eligibility requirements, suggested what they be, they said you would have had to identify as black for at least 12 years. I say a little bit longer than that, like all your life type shit, 50 years even. And so it doesn't make sense to remove the nomenclature black or black from our nomenclature, right? Our ethnonym. We've accomplished so much. And these people know when we say black or the black community, it's never about them. They know that. And I also argue that if they want to continue that narrative, that whole flat blackness of we're all black, police see us as all the same, which that doesn't dictate or denote blackness, then why do they say turn around when you're arguing with them and they say, well, what about black on black crime? Well, aren't they black then if we all black? So what about your crime and our black stats? Like, let's talk about that. So, Ms. Kiana, we're rejecting your notion of intersectionality and reparations. If you want to go file a claim on behalf of whoever you're advocating for or standing in solidarity with, because it's not foundational Black Americans, then you have the absolute right to do that on your own, separate from our claim. The claim is for slavery. and from those who can trace their ancestors to an 1870 USA census. They have to be foundational Black American. That's just what it is. Um, and we do know we have free ancestors there and indigenous ancestors who were enslaved as well. So I'm not taking the indigenous out of the equation at all. But those are the requirements in the suggested requirements. So we're not removing Black. We just not. What they're gonna start or stop doing is tethering on. They're gonna stop tethering on to our reparations claim. That's what they're gonna stop doing. So fair use, I have another video for you. I think y'all find this interesting. One moment. Fair use.
Everyone wants to blame America for destabilizing the nation, but the truth of the matter is, their leaders, you can see this now in present day, Argentina, Albania, Jamaica, the leaders there will sell their own people out, and then people will blame America. And it's like, no, you can't blame America. You got to blame the leaders in your country.
Back. Somebody got to tell them, y'all. Somebody has to tell them. And here you go, y'all. Fair use. Because white people been speaking up, talking about we shouldn't get reparations. I didn't download those videos, but I don't want to wait till I download them and then upload them here to play this clip here. I really like this clip, and I know you're gonna like it too. Fair use.
When the Italians were lynched down in New Orleans, there was a situation where there was a mass lynching of Italians. Their families were compensated, and the country of Italy was compensated, and the Italians were allowed into white society to reap the benefits. The Native Americans, we know the red ones, they were compensated. They broke off all types of money, and many of them enslaved us as well, so they need to be cutting a check too. The third rebuttal that they have for us is, well, if you want to get reparations, FBAs, why don't you go to the Africans who sold you? Have y'all heard that one? Well, I say to that, number one, the African who sold us, well, he got a one-off. Number two, those countries don't exist no more. Those countries over there were colonized, and they were absorbed into the white European power structure, so all of their resources were drained. So they need to get the resources from the white power structure in Europe that dominated them, while we're getting money from the white power structure that dominated us, the United States government. Another rebuttal they say, well, all white people didn't even own slaves during slavery. So how are white people responsible? We didn't all own slaves. But it was a slave economy where everybody benefited from the slave economy. So if you were a white person in the 1800s working for the train station economy was built on the resources that were taken back and forth from the south to the north. So you owe. If you worked for an insurance company in the 1800s, yeah, you didn't own a slave, but you were insuring slaves and you were making money off slavery. If you were a white person in the 1800s working for a bank or a factory, you were getting all the raw materials and refining it in those northern factories, benefiting from slavery. So the whole economy was based on the labor of our foundational Black American ancestors. The next rebuttal is, well, my family came over after the Civil War. So I wasn't even here during slavery. So how do I owe? When your family was over there in the slums of Europe, they heard about a country that was built up off the wealth from the free labor of our ancestors. And they knew that that wealth was mass distributed from our hands into white society and locked in racially. And they sat over there in Europe and said, sign me up, I want to go over there and be a part of that. So since you want to be a part of it, you're part of the debt and you owe too.
See? They owe too. Yep, let me check your comments. So Ms. Vita says Alabama must have a powerful coalition in Congress, and Democrats want to infiltrate it. They heavy in Georgia, Carolinas, Virginia. They trying to come south. Oh, to conquer the South. And this is what, because there be times I be talking and I see my Southerners and they're like, oh, they can't do that in the South. I'm like, they're already in the South. I've met people on TikTok who have two immigrant parents, specifically Jamaican, who would say they were born in the South. Now, this person that I'm talking about is in maybe mid-20s in Atlanta. So at least I know, and I know other people who are Caribbean who have been in Atlanta since the 80s, right? So they're already there. Their numbers aren't up and they're not. And if you outnumber, so if we outnumber them in New York, but primarily all of us, the majority of us are in the South, they just don't have enough numbers to infiltrate the government that way. But if you're in Georgia, please research Representative Nikema Williams because she has an astounding number of caucus memberships, okay? And she has gotten things specifically for Haiti. She has a Black and Jewish or a Black Jewish caucus, okay? And she has done things with Yvette Clarke, such as support initiatives with Yvette Clarke for Haitians. So y'all really, 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 really have to start looking at your representatives, even if they're not Caribbean. Okay? Because right now, New York got me so fed up. I'm not going to release that into the air because I've been saying for a while, street sweepers, haven't seen street sweepers, and I saw two. So I don't want to release that in the air, but New York is pissing me off, and we know I love New York. So we have to protect the South, y'all, right? Because one pet peeve about mine is that I see, and it's not that the Southerners look good. What's pissing me off is that people who are not lineage are getting to partake and appropriate and vulture Southern culture, right? And what I mean by that is the July 5th Caribbean Rodeo in New York. July 5th is a significant ancestral veneration day for New York because our ancestors were emancipated July 4th, 1827, but chose to celebrate July 5th, and even Frederick Douglass agreed and affirmed their decision because they were limiting white violence against them for celebrating their emancipation. And also they felt the 4th was not for them. So that's why I say celebrating the 4th, especially if you're in New York, is a personal decision. I'm not fighting with my people if they are or if they're not. But if you are, throw a burger on the grill for the ancestors. That's what I've been saying lately, right? But they're also appropriating, because May 9th, they had an Afro-Caribbean rodeo in Tulsa. Now, I don't know what Tulsa's, I seen the little clips. It was a bunch of gyrating and jumping around and stuff like that. And that's what Caribbeans do. But in New York, do you know they didn't even have animals? They never planned on having animals. What they had could be a party, right? They had a party that appropriated cowgirl style mixed with their Caribbean flavor according to the flyer. So they bastardized our culture. So if they're in places like Tulsa, we do know, I think it was Texas that had a rodeo. And there was some talk about the way the women were dressing. Some suspect they were not foundational Black American. Some suspect I didn't pay enough attention, but I did catch some things. And it wasn't the typical rodeo that everybody would be happy with, right? So this is what I mean by protect the South, because they are starting to go down there if they're not down there already. Okay. They just don't have their numbers up. But you also have immigrants stating they're Southern or country. And some of those videos are on my TikTok page. So I'm not making this shit up. It's out there. Y'all can search TikTok. Nigerian says they're country, or this one says they're Southern. So, but it's something going on with Alabama. Ms. Rita says that, or suggests they must have a powerful coalition in Congress and Democrats want to infiltrate it. So Alabama, please, you are definitely one of New York's migration path, right? So, yeah. Hey, Zero, how are you? Little Big Mama Jones says, and why would you run into the arms of your oppressor? Make that make sense. Exactly. They want to be under us, y'all. They want the freedoms, the civil rights and liberties, and they want the swag. They want the cultural influence of power to tap in. And I got to tell y'all this, May 7th, beautiful day, right? I successfully passed my certification for genealogy. And I also got to spend an hour with the legend herself, Roxanne Shante. She had an event, wasn't only me there. And listen to what I'm telling y'all, called Books and Bars. And it's an event that she has throughout, I believe, Queens, because that's where she's from. And she talks about the industry, her early career, her life, and she gives really, really good gems, right? And you get to ask her questions, take a picture with her, video record, and stuff like that. For the first, I'm gonna say 30 minutes, I was the only Black American in the room. But what I noticed was the non-Black Americans, non-melanated folks there. Two young men were also with what looked like their parent. One was a young lady with a New York fitted cap, talking about how she went to a park jam, because park jams came up. When I talked about park jams, it was from the 1970s, late 1970s to the early 1980s. This lady was talking about from the 2000s when they was trying to bring, honor park jams, right? I don't even know what it was about. I ain't go. It's not the old nostalgic park jams, right? That's not to knock it or whatever, but what I'm trying to tell you is that our culture has changed. They're going and they're tapping into the source of our greatness. And so we have to be wary and leery of people doing stuff like that, because I was really kind of like, ugh. But it was such a beautiful opportunity. Everything was all love, and it was a free event open to the public. So I can't really complain. It is New York. But I'm just telling you how they come into our surroundings, think that because they were raised with us, or raised, not with us, but in proximity to us, and they're able to tap into the source. They are saying they are this, they are that, they're in the third. We got to cut all that shit out. We got to make them cut that shit out. I'm just telling y'all, like, they're going to the source of our greatness to get the information and try to replicate it. And if they're doing that in New York and the Caribbean population has been on the decline, you got to know they in the South. So check even your Black American representatives, and if they worked with the likes of Yvette Clarke, or if they have a Pan-African type of ideology when they're making policies, or are they doing the whole broader Black type of thing, because this is outrageous. So to the Pan-Africans, once again, and to the ones who practice flat Blackness or global Blackness, right? Because y'all have that ideology too. So you think you're being tolerant, inclusive, and open-minded, you're actually being conquered. New York done pissed me off. I love my city though. Everybody get in their own lane and stay there. Because I ain't never got polled on what the small hats get for reparations. Never got polled on if the Native Americans should continue to get reparations. Never got polled on the ESL class for the Latinos, right? Never got polled about the Caribbean Count Bill or this diversity media caucus that Yvette Clarke had. I never got polled for the Japanese Harlem choir and shit. Right? I don't get polled on anybody else's stuff, and I'm damn sure not invited to their meetings and hearings. So I don't understand why we're such an open book. We have to start gatekeeping more, and we have to start getting them out of office, even if they're our own, because our own has dropped the ball on us for this pro-immigration type of thing. Now, I've been saying lately, after thinking about it, the Jamaicans, the Trinidadians, the Haitians make it very bad for the smaller islands who some may not even know are in existence, who may have come here for the opportunity and know they don't want no smoke with Black Americans. But of course, they came here for the opportunity. So if a friend say, "Here, go over there and get this program," I know they're going to go get it. But what I'm saying is, things could be so much better if y'all got the out of our lane. Stop voting no to our repair. Understand what's for us is for us, and you can't have what's for us. I don't believe in the destiny swapping, but I know you're trying it. But what God has for us is for us. And you wouldn't be facing all these mass deportations. And I'm sure Trump cut some stuff. Because some visa restrictions, some bans on these islands, some bans on them African nations and all that, right? You wouldn't be facing none of that had you been more, is the word fair? More considerate. This ain't your homeland. You got a homeland to go to, and you ain't fight for nothing. And one lone Caribbean here or there, one lone Latino here and there, and even one lone poor white tea person here and there did not make the sacrifices, shed the blood, or carry the movements that got the world what America has to offer them. The rights and protections that they have here. Mayor Mamdani says that illegal, children of illegal aliens who are basically illegal themselves, I just ain't want to call them illegal, are entitled to daycare because technically they're citizens or they're here in this country, whatever he said. And I remember how hard it was with my children because I was working. My oldest was in like first grade public school, but then I had my middle child, my oldest son, and he needed daycare. And even working with the job I had to go get a voucher for daycare. So imagine the price of daycare today because my oldest son is in his 30s. And you giving this shit away to people free who came into the country illegally, hence illegal alien or illegal immigrant. And I don't know anybody who voted for Mandani, whoever, and I don't know everybody, right? But if you are an original New Yorker, that free groceries that he's talking about is a glorified food pantry. We always had that in the city. And if you catch the bus at the right time on the weekends, it'll be free because it's a shuttle bus and the trains are messed up. Like he's making promises of shit we already had. But now I'm seeing, and I think it's AI, but I can't prove it, videos of somebody calling New Yorkistan, and it's meaning it's Mandani's New York, and it's going to be Islam in everybody's house. And I was like, is he dumb? Do he know the real patriots are probably upstate and could get to us in 30 minutes or less? And I mean Black Americans and white tea folks. Like you're not dog. New York City is we have a whole New York state. Don't make us act up on your ass. Okay, go take your ass in a mosque. You can't force somebody into your religion. And doing it like that, nobody's going to want to join that religion because now you're messing it up for the Muslims who fought really, really hard after 9/11, just not to look like the people that did that. People don't think. Immigrants don't think, y'all. And I shouldn't be giving them no nuggets and stuff like that. But let's be real. Everybody get out of foundational Black Americans' way. You see us having reparation hearings, it's not your business. And all them folks talking about, because the lady just said it. That's why I downloaded Tyreek's, his speech there when he said the Italians were compensated because it was an Italian lady. The worst massacre happened to the Italians. And one lady was like, one instance of lynching compared to Black Americans, generational, right? experiences harms and murders and stuff, lynchings and stuff. But now I find Tyrese's video and they were compensated. So sometimes people just want something to complain about, or they're complaining because they know they can't get it. And when we get what's rightfully owed to us, they're scared we're gonna outperform them or outwealth them or whatever the fuck is the word. We're gonna be like, even the impoverished will be in a better position than those people are because they messed up. Whatever it was, they messed up with their settlement. That isn't on us. That's on them. But you got it. I don't think we contested that. I don't think we was polled on that. I don't think we voted on that. So get out of our lane, our way, and keep your noses out of our business. Or we're prepared. I know some of us are prepared to never vote Democrat again. We're going policy over party loyalty. And right now, a lot of immigrants are Democrats because that's who's feeding them. That's who's feeding them. So Zero says they aren't a whole lot of immigrants where I'm at, but the majority of immigrants we do have are Mexicans and Jamaicans. Oh yeah, you got to watch out for both of them. You got to watch out for both of them. Both groups. Ms. Vita says Texas Rodeo was around spring break. I heard a lot of college age people attended, but yes, I do agree there was immigrants there too. They heavily in Houston. Yeah. I felt so special. It was a very good day. You see, I remembered the date, right? Oh my God, she is such a pleasure. She really is. She's still Pan African, y'all, because I started following her on Instagram. And she's the only Pan African that I could stomach at this time. It was such a good meeting, and she talked about her experience and how she was a bus kid from Queens, and what that meant was she was bused out of her district to attend school somewhere else, and the teacher called her a chocolate chip. She told me about, well, you hear me? She told us, the people who attended, about being the age of 10 and her family taking her around to rap battles and her winning to the point where they started trying to lock her out. No, she can't perform here. She can't battle here today. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience. My ass traveled, okay, to go see her from the Bronx to Queens, but it was worth it, y'all. So, that was also the message. I found out that KRS-One has a hip hop school and it's taught by actual artists. And some of us need to go get in there, but it's in Jersey, I believe. So if y'all are in the Jersey area and foundational Black American, get your asses in that school and see what's up, what nuggets you could get. Because we got to learn from the source. And I went there with my Black American heritage necklace on. So I do want to know what that's about, because KRS-One, I want to hear what he telling them students. And then Ms. Rita says they will learn we reciprocate interfering in their benefits and progress. It's on the way. For every action, there is a reaction. Oh, it is. The Jamaicans party more than a little bit. The Latinos are after them. So I was looking around on Instagram because I'm really tired of everybody talking about don't play Black American music, X, Y, Z. So I'm like, let me see what the Caribbean are really up to, right? Why they doing these think pieces on Black American music being played in New York? Like, they really think they outnumber. And that's why that narrative is so harmful. Because these people really got big heads thinking they outnumber us, and they literally don't. Anyway, they got parties all summer in every borough, heavily concentrated in Brooklyn. The Spanish, the Latinos, sometimes I call them Spanish. The Latinos have parties in Staten Island, in the Bronx, okay? The Caribbean are Bronx, Brooklyn, Harlem, Queens. Hint, hint. Hint, 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 hint. Interfering with stuff. I ain't talking about call the fire department either. Hint, hint. They need to make sure their paperwork is straight. But I did hear Holman say that Minnesota tactics will not be used in New York. New York will see a very large deployment of ICE. And it has something to do with the fact that New York officials aren't letting him have access to things that they agreed that he should have access to without interference. So I can't wait, y'all. I can't wait. I'm seeing an incline in Mexicans in my area. Not saying they were not in the Bronx, but they in more of a concentration here. Some child knocked on my door, asked, "Can they use my bathroom?" And I was like, "Hell no, the fuck, you can't use my bathroom." What? And he sounded shocked. "I can't use." I said, "No, you can't." He said, "But the park, the bathroom is." I don't care. Move from my door. He wasn't a neighborhood child, y'all. If he was a neighborhood child, he would have knew to go knock on the Spanish lady's door and speak to her in Spanish. But I watched the child walk away through the peephole, and I'm like, weird. He ain't go to no other house. He ain't really have to use the bathroom, y'all. That to me, what it sounds like is somebody sending a child to scope out a house, see if they have anything of value, to come back later. So I don't like new people in my area, and I can't pinpoint who you are, who your granny is, who your brother, who, you know what I'm saying? Especially not knocking on my door. I'm very spiritual. I work off of vibes and energy. And sometimes I won't even let my children come visit me. Not today. You ain't messing up my good feng shui today. I be trying to put the little one out too. I be like, "Hey, you going to hang out with your cousin? You going uptown today?" I love my babies though, but let me be real. Attachments are real. You come in, you mess up the energy of the house. I don't allow people in my house. So if I allow you in my house, or for you to know where I live, then you're special to me. Protect that specialness, because the same way I invited you in, I damn sure kick your ass out and act like I ain't know you. Let me see. We've been live for 3 hours, y'all, and we still going. I do have a few more videos. Let me see the comments though. Lou says, absolutely. Miss Vita says, caught a video saying Mandani Pantry proposed government-run groceries will ran bodegas out of business. First of all, to me, they're over-glorified food pantries. We've always had food pantries in New York City. I remember me and my grandmother used to go to Harlem, and the churches were selling food. So that much, we don't really see that more with the churches. Well, I don't see that much from the Bronx and Harlem the way I used to in the 80s, and I'm gonna say even the 90s. But food pantries, you find some really good food pantries. Some will give you meat and shit. Some will give you some fresh vegetables and stuff. That's why I wasn't really impressed by him in these grocery stores. But I gotta tell you, they want me to call the bodegas a mom and pop store. They ain't my moms and pops. Okay? They don't look like my moms and pops. They're bodegas, and that's fine. And it's okay if they leave the neighborhood. It's okay if they leave the neighborhood. We just got to make sure that we're able to put our businesses back in here. Because they disrespectful too. You face microaggressions from the Latino community. I don't care what they saying on the we all unified. Yeah, Fat Joe said everybody in the Bronx is mixed with Puerto Rican, and I was like, what? And Jada sat right there and let that man say that foolishness, and I was like, huh? What? That's not true. So the bodegas could go. They gotten too comfortable here. Little Big Mama Jones said, and we will. Cyberdon says BX dropping facts. Thank you. Ms. Rita says never a Democratic vote again. We need independence on it. We got to be careful with independence too. And I mean the boomer age. Because I was talking to my mother at the beginning of the campaign season when Kamala decided she was going to run, Biden can't run. And I was talking about Trump and we have to rethink Kamala. And she was like, oh no, we're going to go back and change the stuff. And I was like, dang, don't you want to lead the Democrat Party? And do you think the Democrat Party is doing? She was like, I'm an independent. I said, huh? All these years, you've been an independent, but I thought, what? I was so surprised. She's been surprising me lately. Maybe it's a new change or something, but because I didn't become a non-party voter until I had to choose between Hillary and Trump, because I was on my mama's train then, but I ain't never thought we was going back and change. I don't know where that line came from. But I do think that there are undercover Democrats in the independent party. And sometimes you can tell by their talking points, they still a Democrat. And that's all they're going to ever do is vote for a Democrat. Little Big Mama Jones says, watch them, especially around your children. Yep. All right. We've been on for 3 hours. Let me see. Okay. I kind of lost some spot. And that was Tyreek. And I played that before. But I want to show you this too. Now, they want these people on reparations with us, fair use.
All these guys are black. They're not even Ecuadorian. We're facing Africa right now. We're facing literally Africa. These guys are not fucking Ecuadorian. These guys are African. They're black. Oh, no, but we have black people in Ecuador. No. You guys got these guys. They migrated, and you guys, they're refugees from Africa, and they're playing for Ecuador. We're literally playing all Africans. These are Africans. These are literally, they're not Ecuadorian. They grew up in Ecuador. It's Mexico versus Africa.
Really weird. His hand looked kind of dark to me if that was his hand. But I'm going to end on this note. I may come back live tonight because my mod did say that she had a topic that she wanted to talk about. And I did see that she tried to go live on TikTok, but it didn't last that long. I don't know what happened. But so I might come back later on tonight. Afro Elite will not be live tonight, y'all. He already told me from yesterday. So shout out to our activists, reparationists, lobbyists, advocates who are taking a break for the day and they'll be right back to work tomorrow if they're not working already today. But look at this. Look at this cosplayer because she is Haitian. Now listen to how she's talking. And after that, I'm going to go ahead and cut on out. Fair use.
Is how we verbally indicate the word etc. in conversation. Me personally, I'm a da 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 kind of girl. Like, yeah, we went outside and then da da da, so that's me, okay? My partner is a la 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 da da da. Yeah, me and the boys, we went out and la 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 and da da da. Now I got friends that are woompty woomers, okay? Mostly male. Yeah, I was walking down the street, you know what I'm saying? Bull walked up to me, whoopty whoop, we got to scrapping. Whoop-de-woo is very serious business. I have another friend who's TDD. Now, I don't know where she got this from.
Did y'all peep that? Though I wanted y'all to see the foreign flags in her comment section. I wanted y'all to see the foreign flags in her bio. It says Georgia and DC. And then it says politics for Black women, y'all. And she's a whole Haitian. Stuff like that got to change. So if we can't get nothing racially, they need to make it very clear to these people appropriating black and saying they're black and etc. And ain't none of that Haitian vernacular. I'm tired of the cosplayers, y'all, but yes, they are so lame. Miss Vita says, have an excellent day, BX in chat. Thank you, Miss Vita. Little Big Mama Jones said, Fat Joe called me broke. I don't F with him. For real. And I saw Fat Joe when he was still living in the Bronx and fat, right? Back in the days when Steppens was popping in Parkchester. And he's just very ignorant, y'all. He literally is. Screaming now. I guess one of his first records just came out and he was like, who wanna have an orgy? Like, no class at all. Going into the restaurant. But thank you for spending 3 hours of your time with me. For those who will catch the replay, thank you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we have a comment from Black Love that says we should have colonies that are walled in. Okay, no, we should send them back home because we want to be free on our own land. But I get the notion, okay? Lou says, I don't believe in destiny swapping either. Do they want 100 plus years of lynching, paper G-side, experiments, cultural erasure, 246 years of chattel slavery, boom boomings, and G-sides? Shit. They wouldn't be able to survive. The Haitian men, military age, should be ostracized when they get back to Haiti. Like they should be put on the front lines or something. Because how do you hear what your women and girls are going through and don't think to take your ass home? You got to have your TPS ended, be deported, denaturalized, all type of shit to go home and help your people. And when you get there, you're probably not going to help your people. You're probably just going to flee to another island and stuff or try to sneak into St. Kitts. Did y'all see the video of them trying to sneak into Turks and Caicos? And them Turks and Caicos, I don't know what they call them in real life, y'all. Turks and Caicos are very upset. They have taken to becoming ICE themselves. They wait on certain strips to catch the Haitians entering their country illegally and take them to the police. Everybody is upset with the Haitians, Nigerians, Somalians. The Nigerians and Haitians get put out of everywhere they go. Until Minnesota came to my attention, I didn't really know what a Somalian was. I done seen Black Hawk Down and didn't know them people were Somalian. It just wasn't, I was like, shit, that was real. Really? That was them? Okay. I didn't know they were the big belly babies either. This was like, oh, Africa, Okay, let me not prove how dingy I could be sometimes. I do have what I call blonde moments. So thank you for spending this time with me. I may or may not come back tonight. It's up to Blue and what she wants to do for today. She has a very good topic, and I did download some resources for her to and me to examine. If not, we'll be here Sunday. So yeah, I guess my schedule will be every other day. I love y'all for real. Check the bio for calls to actions. I have urban fiction literature. I have sci-fi literature that's written by my son, y'all. Okay? And it's an audiobook. I also have merch. I just uploaded a new design for t-shirts, aprons, duffel bags, fanny packs, mugs, fitted caps, hoodies, of course, Letterman's jacket. So y'all go ahead and check that out. And for other ways to support independent journalism, right? Grassroots journalism via Cash App and PayPal, also in my bio. And I love y'all for real. So enjoy. Yes. Good Saturday, everyone. Good Saturday from Cyberdyne. Little Big Mama Jones says peace. And so with that said, have a happy and safe Saturday. Get some rest. And also, have fun. Be one.
so true. Bringing you politics and history too. Dive into stories that shape our view. BX has got the facts for you.